All right, so the first part of this day has been shitty all the way around. I went to the doctor. I hurt my back, as I said, over the weekend. Some people were here for the couple of streams I did. It's pretty evident that my back was hurting. So I called the doctor's office this morning and they said, we can get you in because it's a pre-existing condition. We can get you in, but the only appointment we have is at 11:20. And I was like, well, shit. But I said, well, when's the one after that? And they said, well, if you're not coming in, if you're not taking the appointment, then we're going to have to do it as a new condition because you've already burned your chance to get a acute insert. I was like, fine, I'll be there. I get there and my doctor's like, okay, so you're going to have to go back to physical therapy. I'm like, why do I have to go back to physical therapy? I do my physical therapy every single day. Like when I wake up in the morning, I do my stretches, I do my free weights, I do my I's, my T's, my Y's. And if you've been in physical therapy for a shoulder, you know what those are. He's like, unfortunately, the length of time since your last physical therapy evaluation till now, I can't order diagnostic testing until you go to physical therapy. Okay, and this is why I say our country is not ready to absorb universal health care. If you're going to have policies that are written and people are like, oh, well, we could just change that. Well, yeah, but the problem is you would have to change all these policies before you put everybody else onto universal health care, because these would be the policies that you would be following when you dumped people on it. So like, yes, it would be nice to be able to just go in and get dry needling. Although I hate dry needling, it would be great if my doctor could just order dry needling. And I gotta make sure my phone is on because they're gonna be calling me. But it's like, I appreciate the idea of the idea of universal health care. And if you've listened to my show for any length of time, I really truly want universal health care. I want a society, a civilization that everybody is treated. Yesterday, I was raising money for Extra Life for Kids, and my big thing with Extra Life for Kids is I can't wait for the day. I know it'll probably never happen in my lifetime, but I would love to wake up one day and find out that Extra Life for Kids is gone. The Children's Miracle Network is gone. Shriners Burn Unit for Kids no longer needs public funding. 65 Roses no longer needs external funding. It would be great to find out that everybody could get the medical care they need. But each and every time I walk through the medical care system in this country, I find there's no way. There's no way we're even getting close to it. We're nowhere near ready for the transition. And then today, I remember when I worked in the clinic, the quality of people. You want it until you have to wait longer, or you can't get care in the time you need. Yeah, that's the big linchpin to it. You think that universal health care is going to be the answer until you realize it's not going to be the answer. It could be the answer, and I'm not against it, but I'm saying we need to analyze and adapt, observe, orient, decide, and act on how the best way to do this is. Because right now, you just want to slam more patients into an overcrowded system. I had a medical student as well today. I usually don't allow the medical students because, well, I'm just going to say I like my privacy. But today, since it was all upper body, I said, yeah, you can send the medical student in. The medical student collected a bunch of questions, collected data from a bunch of questions. And I'm like, whatever happened to the medical students, like, kind of like knowing what the fuck they're doing? Not trying to be mean, not trying to be disrespectful, because I don't know what I don't know. But this this doctor student asked me the exact same questions that the med tech did. Then, if you're going to ask me the exact same questions, why am I answering the same question to now 3 people? Because I'm going to tell the med tech is going to tell the med student is going to tell me. No, yeah, and that's fine. Might be a requirement for them to do as a student. But I remember in the past, they did more. They were like more comprehensive. They were like, it was kind of, I always used to laugh about it because I used to feel like that they were practicing their anatomy and physiology because they'd be using all like the right terms. And now it's just like, where does it hurt? Well, are you a doctor in training or are you a med tech in training? And again, I don't give a shit enough about it to ask any further questions. But it wouldn't surprise me if this is the new process. What I don't get is how can the doctor know if the med student is doing their job? I'm used to the doctor walking in the room, letting the med student take the lead. And then as the med student starts to go left or right or be off mark, then the doctor comes in with guardrails. That's what I'm used to. I'm used to like letting the med student take a crack at it. Now, it's possible that this med student isn't in the last year of med school, so that she's not at the take a crack at it. But, you know, we'll see what happens as we try to make this push towards universal healthcare. I don't know how we're gonna manage that unless we get more doctors. Somebody said the other day that it's not really clinic space that we're short of, and that is true. I would like to see more doctors be around. I know a dentist. Dentist's hours are 2:00 in the afternoon till 10 at night. Dentist makes bank by having 4.5, 5.5 hours of premium time that normally you can't get a dentist appointment. So this guy runs, he starts at 2, and they see the last patient at like 9:30 at night, and then they can run over because they don't have a next patient. If people need like crown work done or root canal work done, they can come in after work. And despite what you may have heard, root canals hurt while they're happening, and they hurt because of like the aggravation of the gum in the tooth and the drilling in the jaw, having to have the jaw block in. Most of the time doing a root canal, they want to put that rubber block in the back of your jaw it's a bite block, so you can't snap your teeth on the dentist's fingers. But usually once the root canal is done, you literally feel the pain stop because they pull out the nerve. The nerve is gone. Like I said, you have a little soreness. A lot of people have to miss a whole day of work to get a root canal done. What if you could get a root canal done at 5:30 in the afternoon? Doesn't having some dentists, some doctors, some therapists work late at night, the afternoon shift, doesn't that make sense to have a well-running economy, a well-running society. Like this school, I told you the ridiculousness with the school district. School district says your daughter has to have all her dental work done. But then you want to simultaneously tell me that my daughter is missing too much school. So when I go back to you and I say, well, which one is it? Do I have to have all this dental work done on your timeline? Or do you want her to be in class? They're like, well, we want both. Well, then bring a dentist to the school. And they're like, well, we don't do that. Well, then my kid has to miss school. Because there's only so many appointments after the school day. And it shook my head. Speaking of school, I wanted to really get into it with the school district, but my daughter took care of it. My daughter was at school, and the school liaison officer came and said, you guys can't play Magic at lunchtime. My daughter came home and told me that, and I said, well, you need to find out if there's a school rule against you guys playing Magic at lunchtime. Because if there is, then the officer is right. And if there isn't, then the officer is wrong, because police liaison officers, school cops, don't set school policy, they enforce school policy. Well, my daughter brought it up to me while I was cooking a steak, making a steak sandwich. And she said, this happened. I said, well, did you check the handbook? And she said, no. I said, well, check the handbook, but make sure you check the handbook for the word cards, playing cards, gambling devices. Because unfortunately, Magic the Gathering counts as a gambling device, because the rules in the core books talk about playing for ante. She wrote it up, she sent it to the principal, and she said, the handbook doesn't have anything. The law prevents you from confiscating personal goods. She sent it. I was like, oh, hell, that school is going to see the mail and be like, oh, it's his daughter. I have heard stories of nothing being open at night, doctors spending a full 30 minutes with you. My doctor spent 18 minutes with me. But my doctor knows when he finally gets me in there for an appointment, he's got to do the what else, the what else, the what else, the what else. Like, I went in there for my back. He's got me there. It's like, what else? Okay, I've been out of the military for 9 years now. When are my immunizations due? He's like, you're good. He's like, what else? I was like, well, I'm starting to have headaches again. He's like, good. Go back on the Topamax again. He's like, what else? Like, da-da-da-da-da. He's like, how's the foot? Great. He's like, how's the burned hand? I'm good. He's like, how's the weight loss? Next. Next fucking topic. He's like, well, your weight's come down. I said, cool. Next topic. I've seen people get, how shall we say, 2 minutes with their doctor, and you want to add more people into the system. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think we can reasonably add anybody else into the system right now. I want to, but we have to fix the system first. Let's see. Let's talk Iran. Yeah, your doctor usually only sees you for 5 minutes before they're out the door. That's terrible. How can you trust your doctor if your doctor doesn't spend enough time with you? I saw this. This is I can't believe Donald Trump has cocked this up as much as he has. You don't even go to the doctor. You're almost 40. I have to go to the doctor. I mean, obviously, The doctor was saying today I might need spinal surgery, but we're going to do 4 weeks of physical therapy. You wonder how Canada's universal health care is? I can answer that for you. Canada has universal health care. One example of Canada's wonderful universal health care was a woman who died in the waiting room. Another was there's a woman in the Canadian healthcare system who has brain cancer. She's being actively treated for brain cancer. They think she has a tumor on her spine. Her scheduled MRI was 14 months. Not 4, 14. Canada managed to get none of the benefits of universal health care. What we have to remember is that smaller countries can do universal health care easier because of economy of scale. You've got a country with a population of 20 million people. That is a hell of a lot easier to scale universal health care than it is to scale for 340 million people. The USSR had amazing universal health care. Yeah. You got your appointment like a year in advance. And there was no rescheduling. And there was no flexibility. It's easy. It's easy to provide universal health care to people when they don't have any choice. The USSR had, in fact, the world's first fully funded government centralized universal healthcare system. It promised free medical care, cradle to grave. It was paid by the state, and it aimed at improving public health through universal access. The problem is, a lot of the things that they're given credit for are things that, when your numbers are so terrible that they're in the single digits, you only have to go up. The healthcare was good, except in time. The access was great. The quality of healthcare was low. If you know anything about a communist or a socialist system, it works on the idea that you have everything you need for the whole month, and you cannot have any extras, you cannot have any spares. In some industries in a communist society, it's better to be treated at the end. I don't know, people that lived in the time period say, hold up, which people were living in 1918, 1928, 1938, 1948? And are still alive today? Because I don't know which people you're bullshitting about, but you come on my show a lot and you just make up bullshit. Which people were saying, which people exactly were saying it was better? Because while yes, they had access to healthcare, I know the USSR stopped existing in 1990. And as I've literally just said, it had great strides in its early years. And then, like everything else in a communist nation, it gets inefficiencies, apathy, and corruption. As I've said, one of the problems with the USSR was you got your appointment a year from now. There was no flexibility in it. That's when you'd be there. Now, like all other nations, if there was a and by the way, it wasn't 1990 that was triggering me. It was almost 1992. It was December 26th, 1991 that the USSR stopped existing. Something being universal and free doesn't mean it was good. As our logistics board tells us, you can have it cheap, you can have it now, or you can have it correct. And you can only have two of the three. You can never have all three. Well, we declared independence in 1990, so for the people here, it would have been 1990. I get what you mean, though. Okay. Let me stop you. You come on my show a lot, and you have these, like, really fucked up views. You don't get to say when we declared independence is when independence happened, because every history book on the planet is going to say December 26, 1991. I think that's something that you need to change about how you present data. Just by the very fact of what you just said. Well, we declared independence in 1990, so for the people here, it would have been 1990. Fuck the people there. The whole rest of the world has a set of history books. So, it collapsed on December 26, 1991. Up until then, you were in a process of, you were in a state of rebellion. You were still the USSR. I think that's really important. Also, I've talked to many people who lived in the USSR, and like they said, it was terrible. You had access to medical care, but you didn't want your appointment at the end of the month. Because if your appointment was at the end of the month, supplies were limited. You also didn't want your appointment at the top of the month, because supplies were rationed. See, because the belief is that you're supposed to have 500 patients this month. So the belief in an ideal world, because you can't question it, is that you have 4 weeks, 125 patients a week. So each one of these supply boxes has enough for 125 patients. And then each day, you should see 25 patients. The problem is that if one of these boxes is short by one, then you're borrowing from the end of the month. But remember, you can't bring that up in a communist country, because then you're criticizing the state for being wrong. See, the ultimate problem is we've never had a functional communist society that's truly been a communist society, so people could see what all the problems are. Furniture made in communist societies are great. The furniture at the end of the month has more fucking nails in it than you know what to do with, because they are required at the end, on the last day of the month, to have no nails left, no wood left, no fabric left, no staples left, because otherwise they're using it. They're misusing it. They're not using enough. Okay, look, man, you're so far fuck off in La La Land, I can't handle you today. You're all over the place. Could you please put a conscious thought process together? Because you're like, from what I understand, the Baltic states were the most developed in the Union, and healthcare quality was better as well. I thought we were talking about the USSR as an aggregate. Like, yes, I'm coming off like an asshole right now, but I thought we were talking about the aggregate, not an individual country. Completely detached from reality, living in a tanky utopia in their mind. Communism on paper can't function. And people don't understand that on paper alone, communism can't function. We're all equal, except for the people we appoint to have authority over us to ensure we all have equality. So, I think we need to focus on Bernie Sanders talking about how socialism is great. No, social policy is great. Socialist policy is good. Bernie Sanders talks about how nobody in this country has health care. Yeah, on paper it functions if you remove the human factor, but that's not possible. Exactly. That is exactly why communism is a thought experiment, not an application. Communism has a scaling problem as well. Communism also has a, thank you. Communism has a problem. What do we do with the lazy? And that's the thing that people don't want to address. In communism, you eat the lazy. You either eat them literally or you let them die. I still love the PM of Denmark schooled Bernie and told him to stop calling Denmark a socialist country. Yeah. The PM of Denmark schooled Bernie Sanders and said, stop saying we're a socialist country. We have socialist programs. If you wake, people are under the, and this is where I'm never going to be a popular streamer. Shit. Break. Asmongold, while he was live, got a certified letter that he has $400,000 in tax debt. Holy shit. Asmongold also said it was 1/10 of what he has to pay. So, Asmongold has, he would have about 1.1 to 1.3 million if it was just 400,000. So if that's 1/10 of what he has to pay, then he's making 11 to 13 million a year. Not completely impossible. He called his accountant, came back and said the 400K bill was 1/10 of was 1/10 payments. Right. What it is it was probably, if is that the personal account a bit? I don't know, because I don't know how he does it, but I imagine he, like most people, has a pass-through income business. Yeah, we know he pays 7 figures in taxes, but he had a 400,000 debt, so he's probably making 11 to 13 million a year. And you know what? Some people would say he doesn't deserve it. I would say he does deserve it. He was an OG. He was an original streamer. He sticks with it. He's come back. He's come back a couple of times after what people would say are fuck off events. Like, Asmongold has fuck off money. He doesn't have to keep streaming. So he could just fuck right off. His mom died, and that his dad died, and he came back both times. Some people say he doesn't deserve it because he's created several companies. Some people make the argument that Asmongold doesn't, wait. Dude lives in squalor. Poor guy. How did us nobodies get some of that fuck off money? He doesn't live in squalor, and people need to not reference that. Asmongold lives the lifestyle he wants to live. His house is kind of dirty. And what? But most people's houses are pretty dirty. I don't know that his house is neglected. I know that his streaming area gets fairly disgusting and he cleans it. I don't know if he wants to live like that. I think he has some depression issues. He clearly does have some depression issues. Loses his mom, loses his dad. He also, as he's talked about, he grew up in poverty and now he's affluent. Some rich people, like Eminem talked about this. Eminem wanted to buy a Rolex. He didn't even know if he had enough money to buy the Rolex. He could not comprehend the vastness of his wealth. Eminem treats his rapping career like a job. A lot of artists go to the studio when they want to go to the studio. They show up when they want to. M's in the studio at 8 o'clock in the morning, takes lunch at 1, he's out the door at 5. If rappers come in to collaborate and they're not there until 6:30 at night, they get told M went home, Marshall went home. He'll be in tomorrow. There are some people that they don't ever change their lifestyle when they have tons of money. Deserves is such a weird way to view anything. If the market dictates the niche is valuable, then it's valuable. The market dictates saying outrageous shit is valuable. That's the world we live in. I do agree with you. I personally wish that I had a tenth of his income, because I would be doing nothing but charity work. I wouldn't even be doing like I recognize the Mr. Beast level of the way he does charity. It's because he generates more revenue from the event than the event costs him in the payout. So it's like a self-running machine. But I would be doing that. I would be buying people's house, buying people, what? So my daughter must have an interview. She needs me at some time. Oh, what the hell is this? Oh. Okay, so sorry, normally everything happens and I get everything lined out before I start streaming for the day, but because everything got thrown off this morning, I do agree with what you said. Deserves is such a weird word. If people are willing to give Asmongold money, then he deserves the money. I think what we're running into a huge problem with society, and I love the fact that you said it, and you're fairly new to the program, is people have this level of entitlement to other people's money. I tell this story of only one of my 5 children has ever bragged to their friends that the kid is rich. I was coming down the stairs in my house. My daughter was having a sleepover, so they were all downstairs. I was just coming down to get another thermos full of water, and I heard my daughter say something paraphrased, "Yeah, because I'm rich." And my feet hit the end of the bottom of the stairs as she said it, and she turned and looked at me. I looked right at her, and she was in front of all of her friends, and I said, "You're not rich, I'm rich. You're a spoiled princess, but heavy lies the crown." And then I filled up my cup of water and I went back upstairs. I feel bad. But break. Children need to know that they're not entitled to my money. Like, my kids oftentimes try to spend my money. And I'm like, no, it's my money. You can ask for something, sure. Your needs will be met. My kids will never be homeless or hungry. But you don't deserve my money. You deserve whatever you can go out and get. Asmongold has said, he would stream even if he wasn't being paid, but no one in the right mind is going to say, no, don't give me any money for the thing I would be doing anyway. Actually, Asmongold says that all the time. Asmongold has on many occasions turned around and said, I don't want your money. I don't need your money. I wish the fuck he would divert his money to me so I could do PGN charities. Yeah. Asmongold had ads disabled. That's why he moved from the Asmongold channel to the Zach Raw channel. I don't know what, like, there's a girl on OnlyFans. You probably have seen her if you're on social media. Her name is Kit. Her username is Kit the Beefcake. And Kit the Beefcake is she got her degree in math. She got like 3 degrees in math. She's an OnlyFans model. She's a tomboy. She has like blue hair, I think, blue or green. And she makes $300,000 a month on OnlyFans. There's a lot of women who have a problem with her. You don't have a problem with her. You have a problem with the fact that she's making $300,000 and you're not. Women came when the founder of OnlyFans died. Women came out and said Elon Musk should buy it and shut it down. Why the fuck would you want to shut down, 1, a legal business, 2, a safe business, 3, a business that contributes millions of dollars into the tax system? Streaming is for Asmongold is his only social interaction for the most part. Otherwise, he's a true hermit. Yeah, I'm a recluse. My doctor's office knows me. I'm betting that's why I had the appointment time I had. Because as soon as I got in, they brought me in, they put me in a room. And they were like, are you okay in here? I'm like, yeah, I have my Kindle. I'm like, I'm good. They're like, it's going to be a few more minutes. Nope, no problem. I have my Kindle. I probably got 300 pages read, just sitting waiting for the doctor. A business that is creating generational wealth to tons of people that would have had no access to that money before. Right. And although my daughter is not proud of it, my daughter, codename Stripper, she did not want to come to dad again and say she fucked up her life. So my daughter had made some mistakes in life. I told you, my kids will never be homeless and they'll never be hungry. They will always have 4 walls and a roof, 3 hots and a cot. My kids will always have that. She didn't want to come home. She was embarrassed about her failures. So what she did was she became a stripper. My daughter had nights where she made $2,500 in a night. She stopped doing it because she couldn't handle the psychological impact. But for the time being, $2,500 in one night to take off your clothes? Shit. $2,500 solves an awful lot of your problems. That pays your rent, your car note, your utilities. One night work, 4 hours, pays your fucking, well, you don't walk out with $2,500 obviously because you gotta tip out the waitresses. You gotta $250 goes to the house because you pay 10% to the house. It's psychological. I read a study that says partners get jealous and it hurts their relationship when their partners look at porn, especially when the person in the porn doesn't look like their partners. I think it would be more awkward if you were watching porn of people that looked like your partner. Just go fuck your partner. The orange jumpsuit has spoken. Holy shit. Okay. Why do you do this to me? Why do you do this? The Democrats are doing everything possible to hurt the very strong position we are in with Iran. Despite World War I lasting 4 years, 3 months, and 14 days, World War II lasting 6 years and 1 day, the Korean War lasting 3 years, 1 month, 2 days, Vietnam, blah, 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 Iraq lasting. They like to say I promised 6 weeks to defeat Iran, and actually from a military standpoint, it was far faster than that. But I'm not going to let them rush the United States into making a deal that is not as good as it could have been. I read the fake news saying I am under pressure to make a deal. This is not true. I am under no pressure whatsoever, although it will happen relatively quickly. Time is not my adversary. The only thing that matters is we finally, after 47 years, straighten out the mess that other presidents let happen because they didn't have the courage or foresight to do what had been done. We're in it, and it will be done right, and we won't let the weak and pathetic Democrats, traitors to all, who for years have been talking about the dangers of Iran and that something had to be done, but now, since I'm the one doing it, belittle the accomplishments of our military and Trump administration. This is being perfectly executed. 5 F-15s, an A-10, 7 KC-135s, an AWACS, a $1 billion radar system, a $400,000 target tracking system, and the aircraft carrier that has to be in dry dock for 12 to 20 months. That's all not perfection. The result will be the same. In my first term, I built the greatest military our country has ever seen, including adding Space Force. In my second term, I'm properly and judiciously using our military to solve problems left to us by others of far less understanding or competence. Make America great again. Well, time is against them because the War Powers Act authorization runs out in 8 days. In 8 days, without an act of Congress, an AUMF, an authorized use of military force, or a declaration of war. My God, that is loaded. There's so much to unwrap in that. I know. And a complete collapse to the world's oil supply. Yeah. Do I think he cares about the law? No. But the problem is that in 8 days, many members of the military will stop executing his orders because they won't be able to. Because when you cut CED orders, contingency expeditionary orders, contingency expeditionary deployment orders, CED, you have to have an IAW in accordance with AUMF, blah, 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 in accordance with Declaration of War on Terrorism, in accordance with CENTCOM Directive, da-da-da, in accordance with the War Powers Act. In 8 days, the system itself won't allow you to cut orders. Because just like you have to have a line of accounting for every expenditure, they have worked very hard to purge the military of people that wouldn't blindly follow his orders. No, they haven't. And please don't speak on the military if you don't know what you're talking about. Because no, they have not. Because the very career field I'm talking about, in the Air Force at least, is there is one group of people in the military that control whether or not orders get cut. Those people can't be blindly replaced. When you try to replace those people, then that base can't do that function until you appoint a new person. If you replace the IDO, that base doesn't deploy shit until you put a new IDO in the seat. You're not going to get because remember, as the IDO, I am personally liable for every order I cut. For every single order that I stamp, I'm liable for that. If I start sending people on a bullshit line of authorization, then I fraudulently deployed people. And I served under President Obama and President Trump. I would not cut orders in 9 days. I would cut an order. Good question. Thank you for asking. When you cut somebody orders, that is literally the written order for you to pick your shit up, get on a plane, go to the Middle East. It's what pays for your commercial flight to Baltimore, DWI or BWI, Baltimore, Washington International, and then we fly you usually to Ramstein, or we fly you commercial to Germany, and then because it's just cheaper, we pick you up at the German International Airport, we take you to Ramstein, we put you on a plane, we put you in the Middle East. That's the Air Force route of tracking. Army and Marine route of tracking is generally they fly military air because they travel with all their equipment. But the written order is the thing that moves your ass from point A to point B. Without that order, you can't move. That always has been the trouble and complete ignorance on common sense governing. He has always thought he could EO his way to victory, but that always has a shelf life on him. You're right. You're right. Donald Trump has surrounded himself with the top level people. He's purged all the generals that stand up to him. But remember, it's not the general who gets shit done. It's the general who tells a colonel, who tells a lieutenant colonel, who tells a major, who tells a captain or a lieutenant. And the captain and the lieutenant get the shit done. If the captain is like, no, I'm not going to do that, the general can't be like, well, I'll do it. Okay, well, I pull out my common access card and I say, great, sir, the terminal is yours. The general puts his card in and it says, I can't access this terminal. Correct. You have the rank, but not the positional authority. I have the positional authority. Even if you get into the terminal, now you need a username and password for the deployment system, which the general doesn't have. So this idea that Donald Trump has gotten rid of everybody that's going to object to his orders, no, not in the slightest. Rank and file people at the bottom, they were pissed off because they weren't going to get paid again. Now, is Donald Trump going to withdraw all American forces? No. A great example of how checks and balances should work. Yeah, it is. A great example of it is when you have in the military and you're having a meeting and then the boss says, can I do this? And somebody would be like, sir, I don't know. We better get Jay in here. My cats close my vent. Like, my boss would routinely say, I don't know, get Jay in here. And I'd walk in and he'd be like, do you know this regulation? Yes, sir. He's like, I want to do this. You can't do that. I want to give people a 3-day pass. Cool. In conjunction with the 4-day holiday weekend. You can't do that. You're only in 06. You can't put people on 7 days non-report. Well, how do I do it then? Everybody has to come in at 6 o'clock in the morning. We have to physically see people. They reported for duty. We put them on another 3-day pass. Yeah, but I don't want people to be inconvenienced. You don't have a choice. You could drive to all their houses and see them, but you have to physically have eyes on the person on the 4th day. Or you could send a letter up to the MAGCOM commander because he can do that. His rank allows him to do that. But we've just got a massive problem with Donald Trump because Tehran will skip talks as tension rise over U.S. ship seizure. Iran says it has no plans to send negotiators to Pakistan for a new round of talks after the U.S. seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. Still, President Donald Trump says the U.S. team, led by Vice President J.D. Vance, is on its way to Islamabad. Why are you going to Islamabad if the other side isn't showing up? A 10-day ceasefire with Israel holds despite repeated Israeli attacks. 2,387 people killed in Israeli attacks on Lebanon since the war began. 2.3 thousand killed and another 7,600 wounded. How is Israel the good guy here? It's not a ceasefire if firing hasn't ceased. Yeah. In order for something to be a ceasefire, both sides have to, stop throwing bullets, rocks, rockets, missiles onto each other. Possibility of compromise as Iran rejects new round of talks. Iran's position is that it is not taking part in negotiations unless the blockade is lifted, and the Pakistani mediators have sent Iran a clear message from the US that it's not going to lift the blockade. Does Donald Trump not realize that every day he keeps the blockade in place, he's literally punishing the US's allies? Like, Israel isn't just bombing the shit out of Lebanon for nothing. Hezbollah has not stopped shooting rockets into Israel from Lebanon since this all started. I want to stop you real quick. Ready? I'm going to stop you for a second. How often are the winners usually the bad guys? They should never be the bad guys. The winners should never be the bad guys. But it happens. You said Israel isn't just bombing the shit out of Lebanon. Hezbollah has not stopped shooting rockets. Yeah, Israel doesn't get to keep attacking a sovereign nation. Lebanon is a sovereign nation. Unlike the situation with the Gaza Strip, where Hamas was the direct government of Gaza, Hezbollah is not the government of Lebanon. Both sides are wrong. I'm not saying either side is right. It's both sides are wrong. It's really easy for both sides to be wrong. Lebanon knows that they have terrorists in their country rocketing Israel. So Lebanon should have asked the United Nations for a peacekeeping force or a security force to help get rid of. But why is it okay that they attack Israel is their argument? It's not okay. But what you have here, and this is where the breakdown happens. Oh, let me do this. Okay, so here you have Gaza and you have Hamas all in the same box. They're all self-contained. Gaza is Hamas, Hamas is Gaza. Up here, you have Hezbollah, but you have Lebanon. They are not one and the same. You have Israel. Israel is attacking Lebanon because of Hezbollah. You're attacking a sovereign nation because of what terrorists inside that country are doing. That is a little bit different than Gaza. It's still just as wrong. Because I'm sure somebody's going to be like, well, it doesn't matter because they're all wrong. Because a terrorist group lobs rockets from Lebanon doesn't mean Israel can shoot a guided missile into an apartment building. Yes. Now you're getting it. Now you're getting it. That's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. Just because a terrorist group lobs rockets from Lebanon doesn't mean Israel has the right to attack Lebanon. Now, if Israel formally declared war on Lebanon, that'd be a different story. But that's not what happened. Hezbollah was essentially created by Israel's actions as well. That's not a fair statement to say. That's not a fair statement to say. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthi rebels, they didn't come about just because of Israel's actions. They came about because of actions, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Israel got its sovereignty from the UN. Palestine should have gotten its sovereignty on the same day. Or neither should have gotten their sovereignty. But it's really difficult to say, it's really, really difficult to say one country has undisputed borders and the other country has disputed borders. Yeah, even if it came about Israel's actions, it doesn't magically give them the right to strike Israel. Right, exactly. But this is where, see, I don't have a dog in this fight, so I don't care. I'll call both sides wrong because, what gives Jalan the right to call both sides wrong? Because I come from a country, I come from the last country that experienced this. Ireland had this problem until 1997. Southern Ireland wanted the Republic of Ireland wanted the North 6 counties back. The North 6 counties say, we might be in Ireland, but we don't view ourselves as the same as you anymore. we see ourselves more British than we see ourselves Irish. Well, so we had terrorism, we had terrorist strikes, and eventually somebody got to the conclusion that this doesn't help us. This isn't a positive moving forward. So let's knock this shit off. You could argue they're the government of South Lebanon. Like the Confederacy did govern the South during the Civil War, as Lebanon is still kind of in a civil war. Let me fact check that. No, Lebanon is not currently in a civil war. Yemen is in a civil war. Lebanon is not considered to be in a civil war. They're in a de facto civil war in all but name, yes. But here's where the rub comes in. Oh, world politics are so strange. It's like if I'm a murderer, we have to discuss my past to figure out if I'm guilty or not. Because if they hit me first, is it okay? Right. Well, the other problem is, I think you roll that back. I think you roll that back a step, and what you say is, world politics is strange because just because you're calling me a murderer doesn't mean I'm a murderer. Like, if you remember the Amanda Knox case, the Amanda Knox case is a great example of this. While in Italy, the Italians said what she did was murder. But then once she came home, when Italy asked for her to be extradited, the United States says no, because number one, we don't agree she committed murder, and number two, our rules are that if at any stage of the appeal process you get found not guilty, we don't recognize, we recognize double jeopardy. So in other countries, Italy, China, France, I believe, the state can appeal an innocent ruling, a not guilty ruling, and try you again. We don't allow that in America. We don't allow that at all. You could argue that they are the government of South Lebanon. Yeah, you could make that argument. At this point, I believe Israel is intentionally hitting civilian targets to create more future enemies when children grow up in order to justify Israel's aggression in the decades to come. I would not disagree with you. I would not disagree with this. This is your casus belli. This is ensuring that when the next peace happens, somebody will violate the peace, and you can then once again throw your hands up and say, see, and this is what I'm saying a future leader would say, not what I'm saying. Some future Israeli leader will say, you see, we can't make peace with these animals. Are we just waiting for someone to prove that Israel or the terrorists are murderers, even though it's clear they are to the people across the world? Yes, that is what we are waiting for. We are waiting for somebody to big boy up this shit and stand up to Israel. Normally, it's the United States going to war, and Israel is little brother who's always there before the banners are even called. Right now, Donald Trump has no friends on the international stage. Putin's dismissed him. China can't stand him. Netanyahu is like, hey, I'm going to war. And he's like, okay, let's go to war. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows, anybody who's been in CONOPS for the Middle East knows this. Because we have no way to ensure passage through the Strait of Hormuz, you don't piss off Iran. Period. We said, Donald Trump claimed we had air supremacy. Air supremacy means your enemy has no ability to launch fighter aircraft. To have air supremacy, no, zero enemy aircraft can launch. Fucking Iran escorted back the Pakistani delegation in F-4 Phantoms. So that means they have at least half a squadron of fighter aircraft somewhere. That is sad. All you would have to do is sit there and show civilians hit and ask why this happened thousands of times, and then ask if they were inept or if those were the real targets. Right, that's it. That right there is all you would have to do. All you would have to do is say, this child that died when you struck an apartment complex, why were you striking this apartment complex? Superiority and supremacy are very different. The problem is Trump lies like he breathes. Yeah. Donald Trump is absolutely a pathological liar. Does he not care that everyone knows he's bullshitting, or does he genuinely think people buy what he says? This is the problem. People do buy what he says online. Donald Trump is a fucking cult leader. Donald Trump literally told people, I will make your life better. And Donald Trump's entire tariff system, they now have to start giving refunds back to the companies about the tariffs. Hold on. Let me map this out for you. Customs, importer, which is Walmart, consumer. Product comes into customs. Customs slaps a 10% rate on it. The importer has to pay 10% more to get their product. Importer raises the price by 8%. Supreme Court rules the tariffs were illegal. Importer gets to go to the portal, get their 10% back. How does the 8% get back to the consumer? How does the fucking consumer get their 8% price hike back? Last year, American families spent between $1,700 and $3,400 more dollars on the same products. People said, oh, Trump's tariffs, other countries have to pay. No, I've been screaming it from the top of my lungs. The importer pays the tax. The importer. If Walmart imports it, Walmart pays the tax. So Walmart upcharges only 8%. And if you've not seen my banana example, this is why numbers screw with you. Walmart buys the banana for $1. They sell the banana for $2. They make $1 profit. You put a 10% tariff on the banana. Walmart puts an 8% price increase. Walmart now makes $1.06 profit on the same banana. Walmart is making more fucking money on the same damn banana. And when I map it out like this, there are still MAGA Republicans that will tell me I don't understand economics. And I say to them, what was your tax bill last year? And they said, I don't know, I paid about $11,000 in taxes. I said, I pay $0. Because I'm not going to give the country money. I'm going to take every fucking possible deduction until this country stops pissing away money. I have no problem with paying, quote, my fair share. But when you turn around and you say, well, if you don't pay taxes, you're part of the problem. But your taxes are being pissed away. 19 cents out of every tax dollar goes to pay the interest on the national debt, to which Donald Trump had no problem adding 1.25 trillion onto the national debt. We are at the point that Elon Musk warned us about. I don't like Elon Musk. I don't agree with most of the shit that dribbles out of his mouth. But what he said was, we are reaching a critical point where eventually the country is going to collapse because we won't have enough money to pay the interest on the national debt. When that happens, the economy collapses. we cannot spend 6 trillion if we only bring in 5.2. We have got to have fiscal discipline. And what fiscal discipline means is we can't give everybody free shit anymore. We really got to start tightening up the belt and figure out who really needs that free shit. And then what should the states be doing? Honestly, churches should no longer be charitable organizations. Churches should no longer have zero tax liability. And when people get mad, well, blah, blah, it's a church, it's my... No. Even Jesus said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and render unto God that which is God's. So if you're going to make the religious argument that churches should be tax exempt, well, Jesus would look at most of these Christian churches and say, you aren't even doing what you should be doing. Who are you feeding? Where are your 2 fish and 5 loaves? Why are you not feeding your people? Well, we just tax the rich and solve all the economic problems. Yeah, the people keep saying tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. But top 1% of taxpayers, the top 1% of taxpayers already pay 40% of the tax. There should be no exemptions, period. So you want to tax poor people more. Is that what you're saying? Because if you say there should be no exemptions, period, then you want the guy making $1 billion a year to pay the same amount of tax rate as the person making $10,000 a year. Just so you're clear, when you say there should be no exemptions, period, you want everybody to pay a flat rate. That flat rate would be about 25%. 25%. While you say, well, then a person making $1 billion, no, I think the tax rate should be fluid. Well, then you do want exemptions. So you just said there should be no exemptions, period. So you do want there to be exemptions. You want there to be money exempt from a higher tax rate because it's the poverty line, which is fine. We just got to be really careful when we start saying there should be no exemptions, because if there's no exemptions, everybody has to pay the same tax rate. An exemption is making this money exempt from taxation. Americans need to step up. They do. They need to step up and they need to put forth a statesman. It was casual conversation, and I wish they would go over the real math with me so I can see the problem is real. Oh, I've been talking to some economists lately, and you would know more than me, but they said that a complete economic crash is something that could really happen in our lifetime. A complete economic crash can happen within the next 20 minutes. So that people understand this, our stock market has so many automated orders put into it that if a small pebble starts to roll down the hill and isn't noticed by a human, that small pebble could trigger off massive amounts of selling, which is why the markets have automatic shutdown numbers. Are we that fragile right now? Unfortunately, the entire Western economy is that fragile. Speculative investment as an economy makes you very fragile. I say to people, how much money do you need a month to live? They give me a number. How much money do you need to live? $2,500. Okay, so you need $2,500 to live. Do you have $90,000 in a money market account? No? Then you're fragile. Then you're fragile. So the people prepping aren't actually crazy. No, they're not. It starts small, right? You want to have $1,000 emergency fund. You want to have $1,000 emergency fund. This is for like, you need a new tire, your furnace breaks, your hot water heater breaks, you want that. Then this becomes 3 months 100% of your must bills. And so people know what a must bill is. That's rent or mortgage, utilities, food. You want to have 3 months of that. And then hello? Must be Steven. Depends on how you're prepping. Some people think as long as you're off grid and you have lots of ammo and toilet paper, you'll survive the apocalypse. So this example can be scaled up to Western market. Yeah, the Western market, the problem is the average person has $0 in reserve. If you lost your job right now and you had zero income, how long until you're fucked? At the base quality of your life, how long until you're fucked? Because I want a certain peace of mind because of my health over the last couple of years, I've put more and more things into lower risk, lower yield. Because if I die, my wife could go 5 years. If I died right now streaming, my wife doesn't have to think about money for 5 years. As long as she doesn't go stupid crazy. And there's one vacation built into that 5 year model. So my wife for the next 5 years can take one vacation, which means all of her money, because she's got her own retirement, because she's ex-military as well. That means all the money that comes in for 5 whole years can just go into a pot. Can just go in a pot. She doesn't have to touch any of her money for 5 years. Normally I would say 3, but because my health has taken a turn for the worse, I wanted it to be 5. My daughter's college is paid for. I took the college fund for the one who's now married. You could draw debt for a while. No, you can't. The example of this is not drawing debt. How much can you live on with what you have? Because remember, the problem with saying I could draw debt for a while is this. If you draw debt to live, you need to get a job that pays what you need and enough to pay off the debt. If you're not in a position where you have at least 6 months of base necessity, you're screwed. Selling your assets, sure, that's okay if you say I could sell assets. But what you have to remember is, in a crunch, can you wait to get the price you need? Like, my wife could sell off the land that we have and blah, blah, but that takes time to get top dollar. You don't want to be in a situation where you're having to take 65 cents on the dollar because you've got people, you don't want to be people knocking on the door. Yeah, and there has to be somebody willing to buy those assets. And if the whole system collapses, nobody's going to have money to buy the assets. I'm going to have money to buy shit. If the whole system collapses again, I'll buy stuff. I'll buy people's assets and I'll be better off on the other end for it. But yeah, we need the Democrats and the Republicans to both put forth a statesman or woman that's actually interested in fixing the problems. We want to bomb the shit out of Iran. Why? Because we don't want them to have a nuke. Why? Because they're going to nuke Israel. Why? Because Israel fights with all its neighbors. Why? Because Israel feels those are their borders. Why? Because they keep getting attacked by terrorists. Why? Because of what we did in 1947, 8. Well, why'd we do that? Okay, well, how do we fix it? Unfortunately, this makes me unpopular when I say it. If the Palestinians are going to keep saying, from the river to the sea, well, then maybe there just won't be any people left to chant that. So economic crash isn't the end of the West. An economic crash would be the end of the West. Because we don't have the ability. Salty Bread said it. There has never been an economy of this model run through history before. We've had other economic models. We've never had an economy that works so much on debt. There's a great scene in Game of Thrones where Bronn is talking to Tyrion, and he's like, I don't understand the concept of borrowing money. And Tyrion says, well, I loan you an amount, and after a set amount of time, you pay me back with interest. And Bronn says, well, what if I don't? And Tyrion's response is, but you have to. And Bronn says, well, what if I don't? If I loan you money and you don't pay me back, what do you get? Well, if it's a mortgage, you get the house. If it's a car loan, you get the car. But there's people that find their house foreclosed on, the house gets sold, and they still owe money. Because they bought a house when the prices were doing this. And then the bank sold the house, but they were upside down. Remember, you're gonna end up upside down on your mortgage because interest is front loaded. That's running a society on debt. People keep saying, oh, well, what the boomers had, what the boomers had, what the boomers had. We don't actually know what would happen. It completely in the West. The economic model win right now is largely theoretical as to how it would play out. Well, what you'd have is you'd have an even larger class of poor. What would happen? Would another country take us over? Like, how would it look? No, they wouldn't take us over. Think about this for a second. And this is what we don't teach kids. How do you get food tomorrow if nobody takes cash and nobody takes credit cards? What do you have of value that somebody else would want in a post-apocalyptic world? Guns? Do you have guns? Do you have ammo? Do you have first aid kits? Yeah, you sweet talk your chickens into giving you more eggs, but now you have to guard your chickens because now you have an asset. I also imagine that you would start breeding up some more chickens so that you can have some meat. But where are you going to get the feed? Do you have multiple years of feed? Do you have corn seed? Can you plant corn? Because people forget everything that you can't do for yourself. You need to trade something of value for that. And that's where we've done a piss poor job of educating children. Children don't understand how the economy works. Because people don't understand the rationale of you're not being paid a minimum wage. You're being paid a wage that you negotiated that cannot go lower than what the boss of all says. So why would it look like a post-apocalyptic world? So every man for themselves. Because it's going to turn into that really quickly when simple things can't be had. How are you going to get gas for your car? Gas station doesn't have any gas. Why doesn't the gas station have gas? Because the gas station owner can't buy gas. Why not? Because money is worthless at that point. If the economy collapses, money's value goes down. Even though, hypothetically, everybody could just do what they did the day before. You went to the gas station and you got gas, but I didn't pay for it. You're right, you didn't. You just think, this is hard for people to understand. Money could go away if greed went away. So you go to the grocery store and you don't have to pay for everything. Some people would load up their cart completely overflowing when they found out money's no longer needed. Other people like me would still walk in and make one salad, buy one pack of steak, buy one pack of eggs, buy 24 ounces of Greek yogurt, one package of banana pudding, and 4 steak rolls. The US was the most supplier-friendly country in world history, and Trump has completely destroyed that. He has destroyed our relationships and destroyed US people's ability to splurge on excess. Correct. That is absolutely correct. The American buyer, the American consumer, doesn't have disposable income right now. Coke is seeing this. Pepsi is seeing this. Frito-Lay is saying this. Because all the people that were buying their shitty products were on food stamps. All these states said, we're going to not let poor people buy junk food anymore. Well, junk food is cheaper. The alcohol industry is crumbling because nobody can afford to buy alcohol. The tobacco industry is starting to fall because people are switching to vape pens. Vape pens go up, tobacco industry goes down. Not that I think the tobacco industry going down is a bad thing. I hate the smell of cigarette smoke. I think the US in particular would be worse off in a total economic collapse than a lot of other nations because of your size and the fact that your national unity is down the drain right now. Most southern Western nations are small enough they can quickly re-centralize, and China would keep chugging along. You're right. You're not wrong. The other problem is the American people are fractured because the American people are still caught up. The American people are still caught up with fighting a race war instead of a class war. Would companies close down too, even though they have assets they could trade? Companies don't have assets. Remember, if you're the manager of a Walmart distribution center, you're the baron of the distribution center. If the whole system goes to shit, you're not going to worry about what King Bezos is saying a whole country away. You're going to be worrying to try to see what you can do with your workers and control these assets that you have. This is where people don't recognize it. I'm one boss. I have 50 workers. I can't stop those workers from walking out with a case of toilet paper each. Well, I'll fire them. Great. Then they're going to take a case of toilet paper and a case of chips and a case of water. Because what the fuck do they have to lose? We operate on a very trusting system, and that trusting system is one hiccup away from anarchy. Most people don't have any cash available. Even if we're working on an idea that people still took cash, and we were all going to pretend that cash had value, yeah, the police wouldn't be around because what would the police be doing? Protecting their families. Several police officers would get together and say, we're going to put all our families into one or two homes next door to each other so less of us can protect our families. We're always teetering on one fucking economic collapse from the whole system shit in the bed. And then every day, the fucking Cheeto poof keeps doing shit that makes the world a more and more dangerous place. I will be right back. All right. Yeah, it's going to be a bad... So like the Wild West rules. Rampant crime, only a few marshals... Yeah, exactly. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what would happen. Going to be a bad economic time for me to become interested in opening a cigar lounge. Yeah. I would say right now, if you told me you were thinking about opening a cigar lounge, I would say a cigar lounge right now is probably going to need a lot of market analysis to see if it's going to be worthwhile. Cigar lounges have really gone the way of the dodo anyway, and then to open one now, I would say if you wanted to open something close to it, you would open like a hookah bar. But I would also say even then, it probably want to roll the dice. Probably want to roll the dice. Let's see. COVID was a glaring glimpse into the fragile nature we put ourselves in, but government has not heeded that warning and done nothing to rectify it. The problem is there's nothing the government could do to rectify what happened. For example, we'll get back to the Cheeto Poof in Chief in a second. People were getting COVID checks. And people were coming to my channel because they were stoked about Ashes. And people were coming in and dropping 5 sub bombs, 10 sub bombs, 50 sub bombs. One day, 2 people dropped 100 subs each onto my show. That's a lot of money. And they said, oh, it doesn't matter because I got my COVID check. You know what I did with my COVID check? I put it into my money market account to pay for Disney. I know people that got their COVID stimulus checks and pissed it away. I know a couple of people that got their COVID stimulus checks and now 5 years later, they're like, well, I can really feel the difference in that like $18,000 I put onto my mortgage. I don't understand why we can't get a good MMO. I would think people would want to spend their money on an MMO with entertainment in tough times. You're damn right. The reason why we can't get a good MMO though is because people are willing people are willing to lap up crap. That must be nice knowing people like you so much they drop their COVID check on you. Yeah, I mean, I told people don't do that. I've said almost from the very beginning, like, I will fund the company. Just give me your Bezos money. I just want people's Bezos money. I want their Prime subs. I just want the money from Twitch and Amazon that you already have paid for. If you have Prime, you have a Prime sub, dump that to me. If you want to sponsor an album, we can do that. But I don't do this for the money. I do this, otherwise I would bed rot. This is my social interaction. Although today I socially interacted with the doctor staff. Okay, back to the Cheeto Poof. Donald Trump claims a U.S. Navy destroyer intercepted an Iranian flag cargo ship in the Gulf of Oman and says U.S. forces blew a hole in the engine room in the crew after the crew refused orders, adding the vessel is now in U.S. custody. If that is true, that's a direct military strike despite a supposed ceasefire. Today, an Iranian cargo ship named Tuska, nearly 900 foot long and weighing almost as much as an aircraft carrier, tried to get past their naval blockade, and it did not go well for them. The U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer intercepted in the Gulf of Oman gave them fair warning to stop. The Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in their engine room. Right now, U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. It's under Treasury sanctions because of their prior history of illegal activity. We have full custody of the ship. That's a blockade. That's a blockade. That's not privateering because it's a formal navy. It's a formal navy. To be privateers, you need to be an informal navy. But you blew a hole in a ship because it walked past an illegal blockade. Does anybody else feel like George Lucas kind of predicted what the shit was going to happen? Whoever thought that a blockade would lead to the end of civilization? The ship was sanctioned prior to all this. Cool, but can I ask you a question? And this is just a serious question. Who gave the US the right to sanction anybody? The United States placing a sanction on Iran is a lot like a Canadian Mountie rolling into my neighborhood and giving me a parking ticket. I'm gonna be like, cool, but fuck off. Like, It's nice of you to come all the way down here from Canada, but fuck your ticket. I don't fall under the jurisdiction of the Canadian Mounties. If I go to Canada, I'm under the jurisdiction of the Canadian Mounties, but I'm not in Canada right now. Incredible footage of Ukrainian soldier using a rifle to shoot down 136 drones aboard a Soviet-era Yak-52 training aircraft. Okay, the audio isn't related. Look at him. He's just flying around. Look at this shit. Just, you know, get fucked. Get fucked. Giving it the finger. Yeah, wind in his hair, taking a nice cruise. How can you make that shot? Some Battlefield game shit right there. Odds of that being AI, though? I'm very limited of that being AI. I mean, it's possible, but... What is going... There's protesting in Iran. Hold on.
Ali Hashim there, rather, from Iran's capital, Tehran, with the updated lines there on Iran. Now, China has criticised that US attack and seizure of an Iranian cargo ship in the Strait of Hormuz on Sunday, and the Foreign Ministry urged all parties to take advantage of the window for peace and to restore the normal flow of traffic.
The situation in the Strait of Hormuz is sensitive and complex. China expresses concern over the United States' forced interception of relevant vessels and hopes that the parties concerned will act in a responsible manner, honors the ceasefire agreement, avoid aggravating confrontation and escalating tensions, and create the necessary condition for the restoration of normal passage through the strait.
Right, Iran and Russia's foreign ministers have held a phone call to discuss the ceasefire. Moscow says that Iran confirmed it will do everything in its power to ensure uninterrupted passage of Russian ships and cargo through the Strait of Hormuz.
See, what we're running into headlong here is, I imagine here in the near future, we're going to have a Chinese escort of some ships through the Strait of Hormuz. And I don't think Donald Trump has enough hair on his ass to order the Navy to shoot on a Chinese vessel. And at that point, Donald Trump will have made us a laughingstock. Because Donald Trump's biggest advantage in his first term was that people had no idea what the fuck he was going to do. Like, people, like, if he calls, you better answer, because we don't know what this guy's going to do. No clue. And now, the rest of the world is like, who's on the phone? Donald Trump. Fuck him. Fuck him. He'll call back. Donald Trump, his name doesn't do anything. Like, everybody has read his stupid fucking book. They've read his book, The Art of the Deal, right? The Art of the Deal reads honestly like a toddler wrote it. No just means try a different way. No, motherfucker, no means no. No means the other side is not interested in dealing with you. No means no. I don't get why he believes he can bully everybody in the world. He doesn't even have a coalition inside his own party anymore. Now we know he's just gonna taco. I forgot what taco is. Trump always chickening out. Yeah, Trump always chickens out is taco. This fucking guy. The Iranian leadership has forced hundreds of ships towards the United States, mostly Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska, to get their oil. Thank you very much. But we don't produce enough excess oil for to supply the whole world. I never understood deal maker connotation. The dude has defaulted on every ounce of debt he's ever had. Donald Trump has bankrupted 3 casinos, which takes fucking talent. People believe that Donald Trump is a mental genius. He's not. Fred Trump, his dad, started Donald off with what he was doing. Does he have the ability to drain your strategic reserves? Yes, he does. The problem is we spent years importing foreign oil because we know one day we're going to run out of that shit. Unfortunately, what people do not understand, the day this planet runs out of oil, unless we have made micro fusion reactors, warfare takes on a whole different look if we run out of fuel. Because we don't have an alternative for aviation fuel. We can move stuff around the country on electric charged Teslas. We could go back to coal powered steam engines for our trains. We could create a hybrid coal, wood, solar steam engine or powered train. The length of the train would have to be smaller, the amount of weight that it could do. But remember, we have smaller trains because of payroll costs. Or I'm sorry, we have longer trains because of payroll costs. People aren't ready to be a couple of months at sea. Right. People are under the assumption that we can switch to biodiesel or biofuel for aviation travel. You can't. You can make a pivot to biofuel that still has a large component of aviation fuel in it, and you can stretch your supply just like we have been for years. Your car can run on E10 or E15. Your normal engine can burn 15% ethanol. It's not a big deal. No, we've done it with a cargo jet. I was personally involved with the testing of a C-17 that was modified to run on biofuel. But again, you're not taking fuel out of the equation. You're saying we can increase our total supply by 15% because we can mix bio portions. So now instead of 100 gallons, oh yeah, pure bio without any AV component. Yeah, small engine, a tiny Cessna. Absolutely. If you don't have aviation fuel in it, you're not flying a jumbo jet. Do you think hydrogen air fuel will make it in the long run? No, because let me tell you how fucking dangerous a hydrogen bus is. Hydrogen buses are great until the hydrogen tank gets punctured and you just have the essential components of a fuel to air bomb right on the ground. Would the era of combat jets be over when oil runs out, unless we have come up with a way to make microfusion reactors? Which is why we want to start moving cars to electric. We want trucks to move to biodiesel, because that way we elongate the supply. We have no idea how much oil is left in the earth for extraction. We have no way to know that, because years ago we thought that we were getting critically low, and then somebody came up with the idea of fracking, and now all of a sudden we have more. There's no way to know. There's so much oil under Alaska, so much oil under Saudi Arabia, so much oil in Iran, and then so much oil in Siberia. We have no idea. That's always been the problem, is re-engineering on the scale that is tremendous. Usually by the time you finish, it's outdated. Working biochem in a hospital setting is very eye-opening. Yeah. Because we are so slow to change, there's no real easy way to overcome, analyze, and adapt. So, should Steven have looked into oil drilling as a way to fund Ashes instead of getting into bed with Jason and Rob? Yeah, but he got into bed with Gore Oil. That's in the ledger too. By the way, over on my Discord, Sweeza cashed in for an Ashes of Creation segment. So if you're on my Discord, in my Ashes channel, put some questions you might want answered, and Sweeza will pick some and say, yeah, I want that. I want that question. So I'll be working on that as soon as there's 10 questions, or I'll be doing that on after Wednesday. You're tapped out of good questions, yes. So there you go. What do I think about the polar ice caps melting? Great question. What do I think about the polar ice caps melting? There is a really big problem with the way people treat the polar ice caps melting. And people say, oh, well, if the polar ice caps melt, it doesn't change the overall level of liquid in the ocean. And that is true. That is absolutely true. The problem with the polar ice caps melting isn't flooding. I mean, we would have flooding if all the polar ice melted. But the problem with the polar ice caps melting is the premise of it is talked about in a movie called The Day After Tomorrow. When the polar ice caps melt, what they're doing is they're dumping millions of gallons of fresh water into the saltwater ocean, desalinizing the ocean, which changes the way the currents travel, which cools the planet, which at some point will spark another ice age. The idea that this planet will have another ice age isn't disputed. It's just a matter of when will it happen. This planet has had ice ages. It will have other ice ages. I don't think so much the problem of polar ice caps melting being the major problem. I think the big problem is the trillions of gallons of fresh water that are in landfills trapped in plastic bottles. Obviously, we know that California, Colorado, that whole river system is critically low on water. But then the people in California are too stupid to realize you have a swimming pool with 30,000 gallons of water in it. And there's 100 of them in your neighborhood. So, but it's really hot, and that's fine. But you can't take, I did an estimate once based on public data. You can't take 2 trillion gallons of fresh water out of circulation and put it in fucking swimming pools and then wonder why your local fresh water is tapped out. You simply can't. And I know some people say, oh, but avocado plants or almond plants are using all the water. if we put 2 trillion gallons of water back into the freshwater system, then we could worry about what we're using it on. But when you're watering stuff, like I always laugh at the premise that watering avocado trees is the problem. Well, it's a problem because they're very dense water weight fruit that gets shipped all out of California, so the water goes with it. But if we got all the water out of the fucking water bottles that are in landfills, should we switch to more saltwater pools? That would be great until you realize that saltwater pools are created by taking fresh water and putting salt into them. It's not like when you have a saltwater pool, they import the water from the ocean. You just put salt into it. Yeah, saltwater pools aren't seawater pools. Saltwater pools aren't high cost. They're actually lower cost. Saltwater pools actually have a lower cost. They have a higher startup cost, but you use a lot less chemical. Yeah, once you have it set up, that's why when I get down to Florida, I want a saltwater pool and a saltwater hot tub. I want my hot tub to, no, because salt is relatively shit, dude. I spend a couple of $100 a month in chemicals on a hot tub. When I had pools, I spent a couple of $1,000s a season on chemicals for the pool. Because if you don't keep your pool, no, I meant it causes issue. No, it doesn't. Because the pumps and everything are saltwater systems. Nafis's mods went ham on you for calling out people's bullshit, then banned me from the Discord for calling out their bullshit. I have done my very best in Nafis's Discord. So that it's not my house. That Discord is not my house. So I behave there. Although it looks like you got banned and they deleted all your old messages, so I can't look through what you said. But I do think it's sad though when somebody turns around and says you took a shot and you missed. Like, if you want to be considered a good moderator in my book, you have to be a good moderator all the time. If you're already banned there and they're still shit talking, if the moderators are still shit talking you, then there's a problem. So, which I don't understand why his moderators, like, this is like the third or fourth time I've seen some of those moderators be a little gung-ho. You don't want to shut down a community, especially if your creator is finally hot. You want to put guardrails on stuff, but to start banning people is fucking bullshit. Yeah, the issue is you can't go from a chlorinated system to a saltwater system. So there's a big upfront cost in the different equipment. But the nice thing about a saltwater pool system is it's a lot like when you have a saltwater system for your drinking water. Do you know how much you have to do to your saltwater system for your drinking water? You open it up. Are there salt tablets? Yes, you're good. You open it up and the salt tablets have gone below the fill line. Fill it up to the fill line and shut it. That's the end of it. For the most part, saltwater systems, once they're up and running, you never have to touch them. You just have to keep the salt clean. But you have to do that same thing. You have to backwash weekly on a chlorine system. How much water is wasted on keeping lawns green in California? So let me say this. What I don't like about the environmental lobby is they constantly say keeping your grass green wastes water. No, it doesn't. Keeping your grass green doesn't waste water because the water is finding its way back through the circle of life. Where we run into a problem is, like I said, with avocado, because avocado are water dense, and then they're crated up, they're boxed up, and they're shipped all around the country. Now, in Nevada, in Scottsdale, Arizona, most people don't even have grass. Because there's no fucking point. When it's 127 degrees, you're not keeping grass alive anyway. Like my aunt and uncle, their house was rock, and they had rock and they had a little patch of grass for the dog. And that was it. But where we run into a problem is everybody makes up shit. Yeah, in Nevada, putting water on top of any plant will burn it anyway. Yeah. Like, someone eats the avocado, pisses out. Right, Airstyle, you're correct, but where the problem comes is we're talking about the relocation of the water. So you got California and you got Illinois, and the avocado comes to Illinois, so the water is moving from one system to another. Eventually, through equilibrium, all is good. But for the short term, people are complaining. Let's talk about the 2 trillion gallons of water in swimming pools first. I don't want to talk about avocado. I don't want to talk about almonds. I don't want to talk about any of that shit when we know we have 2 trillion gallons of water. Just like I think all trash in a landfill should have to go through a grinder. All trash going into a landfill should have to go through a grinder so it breaks up all the water bottles. Because we have millions and millions of gallons of water in water bottles in landfills. Yeah, lawns are not the problem. So. Hold on one moment. Sorry about that. My show started late today, so I'm still trying to it's like I'm trying to fall into my rhythm. Yeah, you can't create or destroy matter. The problem is you're wasting available water. So, let's talk about the almond trees in Central Valley. Almonds use 8 to 10% of California's total development water supply, or roughly 15 to 20%. Yeah, but again, if we got rid of all the swimming pools in California, if we got rid of all the swimming pools and we got rid of all the lawns and didn't worry about people having hundreds of acres, or let's say overall the whole neighborhood having hundreds of acres of lush green grass, then I can talk about the almonds. But also remember, almonds don't take too much water with them like an avocado does. And this is why when the environmental lobby says that shit, I'm like, okay, so are we mad at the maple trees because they soak up the rain? Because the water stays in the system. Almond trees are just trees. Avocados are worse because avocado fruit is water laden. You're shipping that away from California. You're taking it out of the direct circle. You're moving it into the global circle. But almonds don't have a lot of water weight to them. The tree is saturated. And I would get down with it if, what I would get down with is saying, okay, we're going to outlaw the size of California pools. We're going to limit the number of California pools. You're not going to have green grass in California because it's a waste of water. Where are we at with water? We're still not good. Okay, we're still not good. Let's talk about avocados and let's talk about almonds. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's go after the biggest return on investment first. 2 trillion gallons of water in fucking swimming pools. Average swimming pool is 8,000 to 35,000 gallons of water. Now, I had a swimming pool at one of the houses I owned. Actually, I had a swimming pool at 2 houses. One was my childhood home. And it's a fuckload of water. No doubt. It's a fuckload of water. So if everybody has a fuckload of water... Right, not even a great example. Pretty sure cucumbers and watermelons have more water in them, but those aren't being grown in California en masse. You're right, there's other water-heavy fruit. You're right. They say it takes 1 to 1.5 gallons per almond. That's fine. Because remember, the water stays in the cycle. But now you brought up the more relevant point. You're planting almond trees in places that don't have rain, right? And so now you're moving water from an area that is usually arid, and you're creating a need for water. Well, the water's like, what the fuck? We don't know what to do here. Like my town is the biggest group of goofs I've ever seen. My town, I see your comment over on Kick. I will answer that. That was an AI moderation. I will put that question up on the screen and I will grab that one in a minute. Yeah, that's fine. I've got it clipped for over here. I'll put this up. My town is a bunch of fucking goofs. We used to be about 70,000 acres of farmland, and they've been ripping out farmland and putting in houses, which means every acre you take out during a rainstorm, that's 40,000 gallons of water that has to go somewhere else. My town has been flooding now, and we're like, hey, you need to stop building subdivisions until you do water runoff plan. They fucking extended the fucking airport. They ripped out over 10,000 trees. And then they started flooding. And they're literally at a meeting that I bothered to take my ass to. And I'm listening to them argue about, well, we don't know because in the 3 years we conducted the studies, we've never seen the water move this way. And I just said, excuse me. Yeah, hi. Former logistician who used to lay out airports. Did you take into account the amount of water stored in 10,000 trees? And they're like, well, trees don't store a lot of water. And I just kind of blinked and I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, are you joking? Which one of you is the tree expert? You took out 10,000 trees. That's not a small number of trees, geniuses. That's millions of gallons of water in root systems. They went back and oh shit, you're right. They had a meeting like 2 months later. Had a bunch of botanists and arborists and and they were like, oh shit. So what they do now? They made water runoffs under the whole highway, and they've started planting trees on the other side of the highway so that the water, and I'm like, guys, this whole fucking town is now surrounded by swamp because of what you've done. Okay, a viewer asked me, how do I feel about the Jews and the Muslims, and who do you like more and why? I don't like either more. Followers of Judaism, followers of Islam are both followers of the Abrahamic religions. I myself am a Catholic, so I am a follower of one of the 3 Abrahamic religions. The truth of the matter is this. Jews, Muslims, and Christians all believe in the same God. So what we're not arguing about the pizza. We're arguing who has the best delivery boy. I think it's really stupid. I think there are things in Islam that are bad. I think there are things in Christianity that are bad. I think there are things in Judaism that are bad. I think there's things in all three that are good. I think that we need to stop turning it into a set of they're wrong or they're wrong or they're right or I'm right and you're wrong. Like, look, let's be honest for a second. If we start with the Christians have done absolutely horrific things that Jesus would be incapable of. So Christians don't have a right to ever condemn anybody because rape, murder, crusades, slaughter, Deuce Volt, God wills it. So the Christians, God and Michael and Gabriel and Jesus, Yeshua, they're all sitting up there in heaven like, holy hell, how did this go so sideways with the Christians? Let's look in on the Jews. Well, the Jews are killing fucking Palestinians. Okay, let's look in on the Muslims. The Muslims are being inhospitable to their fellow Muslims and aren't doing anything. You know what? We probably went sideways. It's really easy to use your religion as a justification for evil acts. What needs to happen is, I am tired of listening to American Christians fight with the Pope because Donald Trump said to fight with the Pope. I'm sorry that people who aren't true Christians don't get it, but the Pope is the vicar of Christ. That is it. The Pope, if you believe, if you don't believe, that's okay. But if you do believe, and you're a Christian, then you believe that Peter was the first Pope and is the vicar of Christ. We have an unbroken chain of popes. Now, the Orthodox Church broke away, and that's okay. It's okay that the Orthodox Church broke away. It's okay that the Lutherans and the Baptists and the Quakers and the Presbyterians, they all broke away. It's okay. Because if you remember it, in our foundation as Christians, the head of our church is Jesus Christ, and he broke away from Judaism by being a radical rabbi, a revolutionary radical rabbi. Jesus was not a Christian. Christian means follower of Christ. Jesus wasn't walking in a fucking circle trying to find himself. Jesus was a Jew. He was a Judean, and he was Jewish, and he was a rabbi. And his teachings could have easily been a different sect of Christianity. Different sect of Judaism. But his followers decided to call it Christianity, followers of Christ. As far as how do I feel about the Muslims and the Jews, I feel that if everybody could just recognize we have more in common than we have things not in common. Like, people make a big deal about Muhammad and he had a 9-year-old wife. Except they want to, either in ignorance or in deliberance, ignore the fact that we have had consummated marriages in European history with girls as young as 6, because the necessity required for the marriage to be consummated. All right? I don't give a fuck what your rationale is. If your laws, if your traditions, if your inheritance, if your whatever requires a 6-year-old to not only be married, but her marriage consummated, it's fucked up. You're getting caught up. I apologize. You're getting caught up. Kix AI is pretty persnickety, but I'm not doing that. So I don't have a problem with it. I don't think what you said is hateful. So I'll put this up. I totally agree. As a Muslim myself, I just wish that everyone got along. It's just that Jews have started a lot of stuff and they like to play both sides and then play the victim. Like how it was when Jews funded the Holocaust. Okay, stop. Stop. What you're doing right now is you're starting with a good I statement and you're turning it into a you statement. First of all, I think that we can trust, because I'm not Jewish and I'm not Christian, that my interpretations of the Holocaust are probably the middle of the road. 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. Period. Dot. It might be 5.4. It might be 6.4. 6 million Jews died. Well, we have these global censuses that show, go ahead and look at the first 2 entries on those global censuses that people like to pass around. They're the exact same identical number. Also, how can people deny that this many Jewish people just fucking up and vanished? It's not like the Jews wrote all of the accounts of what happened in the Holocaust. Romanian scholars, non-Jewish Romanian scholars, talked about how 500,000 people from their country fucking up and vanished. I think where your problem here is you say Jews funded the Holocaust, then lied about how many people were involved. That right there is a hateful fucking statement, so don't make it. A Muslim does not need to address the Holocaust at all. All you have to say about the Holocaust is Adolf Hitler was evil for killing innocent people. But to say that the Jews funded the Holocaust, then lied about how many people were involved, well, now you wrote what you bring in is you say, well, why the fuck are you saying that? That's not for you to say. Because what do I think about the Jews? What do I think about the Muslims? What do I think about the Christians? Oh, the Jews funded the Holocaust. That's inflammatory. Are we saying that Anne Frank's diary is a complete work of fiction? Let's break it down another way. Let's do floor and ceiling. And I'll be willing to do this. Let's say the floor isn't 6 million, it's 600,000. Let's say that time immemorial, we've completely fabricated, a factor of 10. I don't think that we can really say that less than 600,000 Jews died, right? If only 600,000 Jews died, I think we can agree that's bad. If 6 million died, that's bad. So the Holocaust was bad. The Holocaust was evil. Hitler was an evil man, right? I think if we all just agree to that, and then we tell everybody who wants to deny the Holocaust, hey, shut up. Like, look, this room is for the people who don't care about the metric. We care about the evilness of the event. When Christians took Jerusalem, Christians butchered everybody in the city walls. The Muslims because they were hateful, the Jews because they were hateful, and the Christians that were there. The Christians butchered the Christians that were there for living in peace with the Muslims and the Jews. Hold up. When I read that the first time, when I was a younger man, and I was a history major, and I read that shit the first time, I was like, hold on. You're telling me that the Christian crusaders, when they took Jerusalem, killed everybody inside the city walls, including the Christians, for living exactly the way that Christ Jesus would have told them to live? Love one another as I have loved you. What about the Jews and the Muslims? Did I fucking stutter? Let's start from the top. Love one another as I've loved you. What about the gays? Fuck, it's gonna be a long day. Love one another as I have loved you. Period. I think that we are a species that has hate ingrained into our DNA. We don't know how to not hate what doesn't look like us. Irish people, if you know Irish people, Irish men marry, if they don't marry an Irish woman, they marry Mexican women. Irish men, we love some Mexican women. Why? Because they like to drink, they like to laugh, they like to cook, they like to fight, they like soccer, they like football. I don't think we have hate ingrained in our DNA. It's learned. Watch children, they don't have hate. Children haven't learned to hate yet, except the problem is that human beings, we know human beings are tribal. We know this because our history teaches us this. We have hate for anything that doesn't look like us or act like us. Because if we didn't, we have fear, and fear becomes hate. It's based on the tribal upbringing of you don't look like my people. You're absolutely right. If you could keep kids away from nurture, you are absolutely correct. If I could keep 1,000 kids in a self-contained environment, I could stop them from hatred. But then every single person that interacts with them has to be perfect every minute of every interaction. So the problem is I'd have to raise about 10 kids. So those 10 kids could raise 100 kids. So those 100 kids could raise 1,000 kids. And then maybe after 3 generations, maybe, I don't know, maybe we could have hatred denurtured out of people. Well, remember, hatred is easy. Hatred is easy. Oh my, this poor guy, man. I am so sorry. Kick just hates you. This guy's trying to have a meaningful conversation. I talked about 10 Jewish people and I've asked them about their religion. Instead of 10 have said that Jesus is in hell burning. It took me by surprise. I'm just saying one thing they said, it doesn't define them. No, you're right, because you are correct. Jews don't recognize Jesus as the Messiah. They don't recognize him as the Son of God. They don't recognize him as a prophet. Islam recognizes Jesus as a prophet. They recognize Yeshua as a prophet. Christians view him as God. Jews view him as a hatred, a rebel rabbi, and Muslims recognize him as the second to last prophet. I think we're good all the way around with the base understanding. Yes, Delaron, I'm so disappointed in you. You should know what Jews call hell. It's Gehenna. And you of all people, I know you know what Gehenna is. Yes, Jewish, they call it Gehenna. But they don't have, it's a temporary place to wash the soul. Yes. But I do believe they spend up to 12 months getting their soul washed. Hey, look at that, another Bezos bucks. I love Bezos bucks. But no, Misfits, I agree with you. I've had wonderful conversations with followers of Islam. It's like I've had wonderful conversations with people in the Middle East when I've been there, followers of Islam. I've had less than pleasant conversations with some of them, but I understand that because at first glance people think I'm an American. I am, but I'm also Irish. It's amazing how different the response is in certain parts of the world when people look at you and be like, "Oh, you're an American." No, I'm from Ireland. I don't know why you're treating me like this, but I'm not like them. All of a sudden, it's like, there's a lot of prejudice and a lot of hate. I don't think the Iranians are my enemy. I think the strangeness of Jewish religion being one, if not the only major religions that doesn't recruit followers, makes it feel like a secret club, and they all create unsettling feelings for people. Well, you're right. Judaism doesn't actively recruit followers because the 2 other major Abrahamic religions work on Jesus's teaching of being an evangelical. This poor guy. This fucking poor guy. I need to, hold on. I need to see if there's a... Yeah, this poor guy over on Kick is just getting the dog shit beat out of him by Kick, and none of these are that. I didn't know that Muslims believe the same, that it's called Gehenna for hell, and we believe that hell is temporary because no sin can enter heaven. Right. Now, meanwhile, Christians, we believe in eternal damnation. I'm sorry, Catholics, we believe in eternal damnation. Jews believe that they have an exclusive contract with God. They do believe that. That is accurate. They believe that the path is... Jews believe that they are the only path to... They believe that because they're the first of the 3 Abrahamic religions. The truth is, I think that religion is part of the problem. Like, look, just saying, maybe somebody should sit around and think about it. Like, if there's more Catholics worldwide than there are Jews, maybe you miss some of the signs that he was the Messiah. Maybe. But your religious beliefs should stop. Your religious beliefs should stop at the start of my religious beliefs. When I get into heaven and I see my Jewish friend, I'm going to laugh and remind him of how awesome Christmas was. Sure. I don't get to go to heaven. If heaven and hell are what they are, I don't get to go to heaven. I have only one place I can go. Because you have to be sorry for your sins. In order to receive, in Catholicism, in order to be forgiven, you have to be sorry for your sins. And I have some sins that I'm not sorry for. So for me, I'm not going to wait in the line to go talk to St. Peter. I'm going to land and I'm going to be like, well, that's the line to get into heaven and that's the express elevator to hell. Let's just get in that one because I know that's where I'm going. And I'm okay with that. As a pagan, I'll laugh when they change Jesus' birthday to please my religion. Yeah. Or have enough money for indulgences. Yeah, but you still have to be sorry. Maybe I'll create my own religion and forgive myself. Let's see.
Your Honor, despite what the ledger shows...
Let's see. Downloads. I downloaded this. There's got to have been a reason.
Fuck the whole United States of America, including me. Every day I wake up in this fucking country and I realize the only way to fix it is to burn this bitch to the ground. I have no confidence in politicians, elections. It's all an illusion of something better that never is gonna come. We are slaves to a system that fucking hates us and despises us. We as humans have a God-given right to live happy, prosperous lives, free from control. This is hell, and we should let this motherfucker burn.
Yep. I mean, that is, unfortunately, our politicians, our statesmen, our leaders aren't understanding the strife that people are in. And when I say the strife people are in, I'm not exaggerating, right? We've got a situation where I take care of 3 families, and hold on. What's this guy need? Yeah, that is. All right, I have a contractor who is working on the album, so they needed to. In my religion, Prophet Muhammad is granted a wish by Allah. He is saving it for the day of judgment. He's going to use his wish to ask Allah to have mercy on us. Let everyone go to heaven. But that is not an excuse to be bad. Yes, exactly. That is not an excuse to be bad. Like, you're supposed to be a good person. But right now, our politicians are not good people. Our politicians are not taking care of the population. There's a mom. She's a mom of 5. Her husband is a dirtbag. He's an absentee father. He doesn't care about his kids. She is so hard up for money because when you're a dual income family, you can have 5 kids. Now, one of her kids is an adult. When you're a dual income family, 4 kids is doable. But the husband left her. The husband moved to a completely different house. So now his money is going to run his household. He's not sending money home for food. He's not sending money home for medical bills. And then the other day, she's so hard up for money that I spare her what I can. But the problem is, if I keep sparing her what I can, what I'm creating is a junkie. I'm creating a person there asking for a handout. I don't have the means to give her a better job. I wish I did. I wish PGN was so affluent that I could just say to her, hey, I've got a person that needs an assistant. The job pays $50,000 a year. You have the skill set to do this job. Yeah, you're a nepotism hire, but I can help you by stabilizing your life. I wish I had the disposable income to just buy her a house and rent it to her so she could have a landlord that's not going to evict her every time she's $50 short on the rent. Like, look, you pay me the rent. If you're short, you explain to me why you're short. You show me how you're short, and then we'll just bump it. But that's not, I don't have that power. But she says to me, she's like, I can't even feed my kids. I'm thinking about reverting to I'm thinking about engaging in prostitution to pay for my kids. So then the husband loses his job wherever else the fuck he was living, has to move into his wife's place. He has a job, but he doesn't go to it. The mom is so hard up for cash. She's looking through her husband's backpack for change so that she can buy groceries, and she finds condoms in his bag. How the fuck why should she care about people in Iran or people in Palestine or people in Gaza or what's going on with Christians anywhere in the world? Why should she care when she can't? There is no mechanism to get her on her feet. And some people said to me, well, life isn't as bad as you're making it out to be. And I said, you know what? It very well may not be. I don't really go out. I had no idea what the cost of groceries was. I make a list. I don't like to go out. I make a list. My wife usually grabs the groceries. Well, now I started eating every day. I get fresh food every day. And I'm in the grocery store and I'm spending $36 to $50 a day. Bread, salad, steak, yogurt cup, cheese. That's $50. Now, granted, part of it is because I have to be on this high protein diet. I can't afford, like my doctor just again reminded me today, make sure you're getting your 60 grams of chewable protein by noon. Because the American financial system is sustained in part by the petrodollar. Yeah, but there is no reason that fuel prices in America were raised. Zero. American gas companies took profit because they could. We weren't short on fuel. Yeah, greed. We weren't short on fuel. We didn't have to start rationing that shit. They raised prices the same week the same week the first strikes hit. I remember when you could spend $100 at the grocery store and be good for a month, but after Trump got in office, $100 couldn't last a week. You're right. You're right. I think it's sickening that we are spending billions every day sending bombs and troops to do part of the world that has zero to do with my day-to-day. Meanwhile, here in the US, we are dealing with rising inflation, gas prices, food prices. Yeah. Yeah. I'm old enough to remember 89-cent gas. The ability for Americans to buy everyday items comes from the oil trade. No, it does not. No, it does not. I don't know who told you that, but that is incorrect. Very few Americans directly derive their income through the gas trade. Although there are a lot of people involved in the gas trade. Again, there was zero reason. America is not impacted by the Gulf situation. 0% impact. In fact, Americans should be doing better because we're selling crude oil at a higher rate than we were before. Americans are impacted when the price of gasoline goes up. Absolutely. We use a fiat system, and that is sustained in part by the oil trade. Okay, yes, we use a fiat system. Yes, it is sustained in part by the oil trade. That is the first thing you've said that is correct. You are making it sound like, first of all, the gasoline at the pump price should have gone up when it did. No, it shouldn't have. No, it shouldn't have. And you got to be real careful here because my background is global petroleum distribution. And unless you're the Navy guy or the Army guy that served with me, there's not a lot of people who have my level of expertise in global petroleum. I managed 4 billion gallons of aviation fuel, millions of gallons of ground fuel. I know how fuel is bought. I know how it's distributed. I know how it's processed. I know how it's refined. There is 0.0 reason why gas prices went up in America the same week the police action started, the War Powers Act action started. U.S. used to have 70 to 90% income tax brackets. Yeah, and it didn't do any good. Taxing people 70 to 90% doesn't do anything. America is worrying about the wrong thing, sending $2 billion to Israel when our homeless population has increased. Correct. We are sending $2 billion to Israel when for $2 billion we could build probably 50,000 homes. Trump says Trump sways the market to help out his buddy. He's been doing it since day one. Yeah. We could take $2 billion and build boxables for people. We could just set up whole villages and lay them out appropriately to ensure maximum policing, maximum safety. And we could do that on $2 billion. But of course, then everybody gets involved and everybody's got to get a cut. Give me 1 second. Okay, if our currency is backed by gold, we would have no need to get involved in the Middle East conflicts. No, completely wrong. I'm going to stop you here real quick. Ready? What is your background in economics? Because you've said 5 things now and 4 of them have been completely wrong. What is your background in econ? Because if our currency was backed by gold, that doesn't change our need for fuel. I think that you have gotten a lot of TikTok education. If you'd like me to straighten it out for you, I'm more than happy to do so. I teach economics. But you're saying if our currency was backed by gold, we would have no need to get involved in the Middle East. We would still need to buy the commodity. I don't watch TikTok. Okay, then I don't know where you got this terrible education, but you have a lot of buzzwords, but you don't know how to connect them together. Being on a fiat currency has nothing to do with what products you do or do not need anywhere else in the world. Being on a fiat currency simply means that fractional lending at 90% can happen, whereas when you're on a silverback system, okay, no, we don't. We do not produce enough oil for our own use. I'll explain it again because a lot of people don't get this. What we produce in America is dirty. We do not have clean oil underneath America. We don't have clean oil. We have very dirty crude. So we can make a lot of products out of this. But the problem is, right here at the very bottom, we get heavy fuel oil. And the only thing we can use, I don't call it heavy crude, I call it dirty crude for this reason. It's dirty crude because when we get done refining it, what's in the bottom can only be used as heavy fuel oil. That's why I don't call it heavy fuel or heavy crude. Because at the very bottom, all we have left is the shit. Meanwhile, fuel that comes out of the Middle East, when you do that, you get a lot more of this top-end, high-end avgas, high-end aviation fuel. And what you get very little of at the bottom is heavy fuel oil. Now, what you can do is you can take a barrel of ours and add it to a barrel of theirs. And what you do is you increase or you decrease this cut of heavy fuel oil, because when you blend it, you get a cleaner blend and you get more products that you need out of it, because you got your high-end avgas, your SR71, your B2 fuel, then you have aviation fuel, and then you have Jet A with additives, which is what the military uses, and then you have high-octane gasoline, you have diesel, you have ugly diesel, da-da-da-da. So no, we don't need Middle Eastern oil. But if we have it, we make the oil here more efficient. If we had to make all of the aviation fuel out of only American crude, the cost of aviation fuel would go up. So when people say we don't need it, that's because you're listening to somebody who doesn't understand. Now, I said there's only 2 types of crude because I'm trying to keep it at a 50,000 foot level. There's actually 6. There's sweet and there's heavy, like Quantum Traveler said. And then inside of that, there's 3 and 3. Right. The U.S. refineries and ones in the Middle East designed for different types of crude. So we sell crude oil because as a total aggregate, remember, the U.S. doesn't sell oil. The U.S. doesn't buy oil. It's just a cheap, easy way to say it. What we say is American companies sell oil, sell crude, so that they offset one for one their purchase buy for their blends. Yes, we do produce a net positive in oil. But if we had to start making all of our own products, we wouldn't have crude to sell. We'd have a lot of heavy crude oil waste, which some of the old Soviet bloc countries still buy. North Korea still buys. Some South American countries still buy, because they still use, and in America we still use it. We have oil power plants. Dirty, heavy crude oil power plants. But that's not what we want. What do you do with heavy crude waste? You burn it. Yeah, just power plants. You just burn it that way. Because remember, in that whole process too, people always forget it's POL. It's petroleum, oil, and also lubricants. The oil that we have access to in America doesn't make all the lubricant that we need. So we need that blend ratio. But when you start saying stuff like we're on a fiat currency, so no, fiat currency has absolutely nothing to do with any product other than precious metal. And the only thing a fiat currency versus a hard currency has to do with is the one specific standard, or if you have multiple standards. Yeah, plastics. Make plastics out of some stuff. Make, what's the other thing we make out of them? This wasn't the part of my job. Oh yeah, that's right. The other big one that people think is a good idea is the black carbon for the carbon black for tires and asphalt. I'd forgotten about that. So this is your 6, right? And this shit is fascinating, but I don't want to dive too far down into the weeds, right? Because you have sweet crude, you have sour crude. You've got like 6 different API gravity weights. It's all over the place, but there's shit tons that you can read about it. How many peanut butter and petroleum? Oh, fuck's sake, man. The problem is a lot of people get really bad information in their head and they don't want to go learn about economics. I would love if we would change our fractional lending system. Right now, banks operate on a 90% fractional lending system. I disagree that a fiat currency is sustained by precious metal stores. Okay, you should be, because that's literally not what I said. A hard currency is based on precious metals. Fiat currency isn't based on anything. Fiat currency is literally somebody saying your money has this much buying power. You're right, it's sustained by global trade. This right here is 1 ounce of pure silver. An entire global index decides what's this is worth. This is $1 American. The store that I go to decides what this is worth. I can go to any coin dealer and get the same dollar amount from this, plus or minus probably 3%. Because if I know what 1 ounce of silver is trading on the market, then I know what I'm going to get because I know what their markup's going to be. This is completely subjective. Paper currency is subjective for a reason. Yeah, fuck the gold standard. The Big Mac index is the true value because the Big Mac index or the gallon of gas index is based on buying power. $80.39 USD as of today for an ounce of silver, so I could reasonably expect to get $68 to $69 for the coin. Well, why? It's worth $80. Well, remember, if I sell it to somebody, there has to be profit for them too. Like, something is what it's worth is if I can get somebody to pay for that. Like, for example, I sold the Black Lotus about 6 years ago. I sold the Black Lotus. I knew a Magic player, he wanted a Black Lotus. I happen to still have one. I needed to pay for a car. Sold it to him. I sold a set of Moxes because I had them. The value of those items is what I can get for them. I have in storage, I have every Bo Jackson rookie card for baseball from every set that year. All like the 8 different baseball sets. I have one of each. No, it wasn't graded. It was just a preserved Black Lotus from my binder because I played Magic back in Alpha. And so I kept a set of them. I completely believe that money has a value only because we believe it has value. Like if we went to an alien planet and tried to give them a paper bill, they wouldn't take it. Right. And this is what I tried to explain to people. And they don't get the idea of value. This is 44 ounces of water. 44 ounces of water. Oh, this is about 18 ounces of water. Okay. This is worth about 12 cents. But if I'm in the middle of the desert and Elon Musk is crawling back to his car and he's like, Jay, you gotta help me. My camel pack, it ripped and all my water dumped out. And I was like, hey, Elon, that kind of sucks. I got a little taste of water here for you. Here's my phone. Why don't you transfer $1 billion into my bank account, Big Papa? And of course, Elon Musk knows he can't get to the car without the water. So he's going to whip out the phone. He's going to make the transfer. And 18 ounces of water is suddenly worth $1 billion. Why? Because without it, he dies. If I bump into Elon Musk in a convention hall, he's not even going to want my water. He can go get his own. People don't understand a fiat currency is what the people wanted. The people wanted more buying power. So what we have is we have the silent generation in the first half of the baby boomer generation. Okay, without trade and economic activity, the value of fiat currency would tank because the government prints so much. No, it wouldn't. Okay, I'm going to stop you. Please stop saying shit about economics and currency on my channel. You're making my job harder. Ask me questions. Don't use definitive statements on my channel. Because you don't know what you're talking about. Fiat currency has nothing to do with global trade, economic activity. A fiat currency is simply because there is somebody who may be willing to give you an item for that piece of paper. That's why it works. A fiat currency is based wholly on consumer buying power. That is it. That is it. Money doesn't have a value if you can't get what you need for the piece of paper. Period. Dot. A fiat currency means that banks can do more lending. Because when you're on a silver-backed, one-for-one, hard-backed system, people are going to notice if you try to give out 9 gold silver coins for every 10 you take in. Like Viking us to raid villages when they got money from the raids, they would spend it all on a feast for the village because they had no attachment of money. Yeah, they had no attachment of money. They had attachment to the things money could get them. Consumer spending is economic activity. Correct. But you conjoined it with trade, which is what made your statement incorrect. You say without trade and economic activity, the value of fiat currency would tank. That's not true. Fiat currency has no intrinsic value. That is correct. Fiat currency only has value if it can secure for you the thing you want. Period. That's why a shot glass is called a shot glass. Because you used to give the bartender a bullet. The bullet had value to the bartender. The bullet had more value than the alcohol. Because he could sell the bullets to the gun guy. And then you on your way out of town would have to come up with money if you needed bullets. Doesn't matter what your currency is. Scrooge McDuck and DuckTales had a wonderful episode where bottle caps were the currency. You can have anything be currency if that thing has buying power. For example, not that I'm proud of it, but when I was in high school, I had an older brother. My older brother would walk to the gas station and buy 2 cartons of cigarettes. How do you get consumers to spend more with bringing in cheaper products through trade? You don't. That's the point. You're conflating 2 different parts of the system. So this is a US steel company. This is a Chinese steel company. This person needs to buy steel. If both of these things suit my need, if I don't need the American steel specifically for the project, why am I going to spend this when I can spend this? But guess what? The importer of that Chinese steel, they only paid this. So they made a profit. That's the buying power. How do you get consumers to spend more without bringing in cheaper products? You don't. People have intrinsic needs. People have to buy that which they cannot provide for themselves. I know how to brew alcohol. In a post-apocalyptic world, I'm set. because people will always want alcohol. I have guns, I have ammo, I have first aid kits, I have meal replacement bars, I have clean water, I have blankets, I have extra jackets, I have skill sets, I have value. What you're saying is you keep jumping around topics. Fiat currency is simply not hard standard backed. People are like, oh, well, depending on the stock market determines the value of your money. Your money's not determined by the value of the stock market. Your money has value depending on what you can buy with it. This house that I live in is now valued at over $300,000. I bought it for $175,000. I didn't make any major improvements to it. Is it illegal to brew your own drinks at home and sell to family and friends? Yes. You may not sell alcohol unless you have a distributor's license. You may give alcohol to family and friends. You may give it as a gift. You may not sell it. To sell it, your operation has to be inspected. You have to have a tax license. You have to have a tax stamp. You have to have a specific liquor license, which is why microbreweries have 2 liquor licenses. Fiat currency value is backed only by the faith of the government issuing it. Fiat currency's value is backed in part by the faith of the government issuing it and in its ability to get you what you want. Yeah, Fallout had bottle caps as well. But you can sell bottles of all bottles come with a free refill of whatever liquor you like. That's more along the lines of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, you get them to buy. You're not selling it to them because you got to be real careful on the process. They're buying the bottles. And in exchange for the bottles, which just happen to be 30% of the production cost, they get 30% of the lot. You notice how that works? You're the one who has the brewing. They provide the bottles and the bottle caps. That's 30% of your cost, so they get 30% of the batch. I know it's stupid, but these are the little loopholes in the law. Just like this. I can make all prostitution legal. However, break, you might have some dissatisfied customers. It's against the law to hire a prostitute. It is not against the law to hire a girl to take off her clothes and take photographs of her, as long as she is of the age of consent. As long as she signs a deal, and in that deal it says you can't post the photographs, because then you'd be venturing into pornographic production, which has a different federal licensure. But you say, I'm an artist, and I'd like to take photographs of you naked. And so you take the photographs. When you're all said and done, you say, that concludes our business. But since you're naked, you want to have sex? 2 different transactions. Also, don't give your prostitute cash. Give your prostitute a birthday card. Don't open till your birthday. That one might be a little bit harder sell to the judge, but by the letter of the law, you didn't break any rules. Yeah, making your own alcohol at home is really simple. Getting good at it is really hard. Yeah, ban all strip clubs. There was one company who couldn't get the distributor's license at a beer fair, so they said if you donate $5 to charity, you will get a gift of 12 ounces of beer. Yep. Although giving away beer is dangerous as well. Giving away alcohol and cigarettes and now weed is a dicey proposition. You need to make sure your state doesn't have specific laws. Like, for example, in Illinois, we have to be really careful when we give away drinks, because we're responsible to make sure we haven't served you to intoxication. But what do you do when somebody spills a drink? Yeah, you need a you need a liquor license. If you're a microbrewery, you need 2 liquor licenses. You need a production license, and you need a seller's license. Also, realize in most places that I've done research, you can't get a straight liquor license anymore. You have to get like a 40-60 license, which means 40% of the time that you're open, you have a bar or a kitchen or a food service. Now, some of those get to be really, really bare bones minimal. I helped set up a bar for a guy who had 5 things on his food menu. He had pretzels, chips and cheese, chips and salsa, Stouffer's pizza bread, shitty chicken sandwiches, and I think fries, onion rings, mozzarella sticks. But the way he did it was he made a appetizer combo, which counted as an item on the menu, and then fries, onion rings, mozzarella sticks individually were on the side, so that created 4 items on his menu instead of just 3. Yeah, brewing has similar health standards to food preparation. You're subject to inspection. So yeah, I've only been casually involved with the microbrewery side of the operation. The only time I've been involved in that, I was just helping them do their service side. I was in the meetings when they would talk about it, and a lot of times I'd say, guys, does this really concern me? Or can we jump to the parts that concern me, and then y'all can bullshit forever? Most things that you can do for yourself at home as a hobby become illegal to do when you start doing it commercially without asking the government if you can. It's a good way to say it. But yeah, the big thing about when people start talking about fiat currencies, I think we have to not overestimate our understanding of fiat currencies. The government controls how much your dollar is worth. No, the government doesn't control how much your dollar is worth. The economy controls how much your dollar is worth, because your buying power controls that. Why can you buy something at Walmart for $4.95, where at Target it's $9.99, and at CVS it's $14.95? It can absolutely be influenced by the supply, though. Supply and demand. Because that's basic economics 101. But also, we're a fiat currency, and I was starting this point and then I had to stop. Supply determines price. Demand determines price. Well, the supply stays the same, but the demand goes up. So the price goes up. Well, why did the demand go up? Because we moved to a fiat currency. And that means loans were more available. What I started talking about earlier is in the 1960s up to 1973, we were on a silver standard, which meant your dollar was worth X silver coins. Your dollar was worth X amount. I think it was like $1.40 to a coin. So the silent generation and the first half of the baby boomers, they were on this standard. And then what people wanted, as new luxuries were starting to become available, they wanted lines of credit. Well, lines of credit don't work on a hard currency system, because if the bank has 2,000 silver coins in it, and the bank starts loaning out, say, a 3-to-1 ratio, they're loaning out 1,800 coins, that's okay. Because they've given out 1,800 coins, they're probably right on the pace. But if they give out 2,400 coins, now people show up to the bank and they say, hey, I want my coins. And the bank says, that's what you hear, a run on the bank. I don't have all your money to give to you. I don't have any money to give to you. The fact that we operate on this is why prices go like this, because demand goes like this. Because people aren't, banks don't even have, like, shit. The one bank that I bank at, they only have $10,000 in cash in the branch at any given time. I don't know where I seen this, but did the government take away people's gold when they were moving to paper bill and threaten them with jail time? Yes, no, kind of. It did happen, but not. It's not like the government went door to door, kicking down doors, collecting gold bars. But yes, the government, both with gold and silver, forcibly recalled their coins to get the gold out of circulation to exchange them. I have silver certificates in the other room. Money used to have right about there on it. It used to say, this is exchangeable for silver. The 10% is kind of bullshit though. It lets the bank basically print money. No, it doesn't let the bank print money. It lets the bank access, it lets the consumer access money. The bank doesn't print money. Because remember, the bank is required to be able to make good on all debts. But because we're not dealing in cash anymore, the bank can transfer digital assets on your behalf. That's where I said we would only need one bad day in the Western economy, one bad hiccup, and all the markets would close because all their automatic triggers would happen. And I would imagine if we ever hit that, the ability to loan money you don't have changes how business is done and how the entire world operates. Hey, that's the second thing you've said that's correct. That's correct. What it does is it allows people to take risks that they wouldn't normally be able to do because they wouldn't even be able to get started. It also allows people to get into homes and cars and colleges that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Fractional lending isn't a bad idea. Fractional lending has always been a thing. But in a hard currency system, it's maybe 2 to 3 to 1. And in a fiat currency, it's closer to 9 to 1. In America, banks can loan out 90%. But here's the thing. I give the bank a $100,000 investment. The bank now has $90,000 to loan out to somebody for a mortgage. But since everybody is keeping their money in banks now, this $90,000 that the seller gets is going to go into the banking system, which means now the banking system has $81,000 that it can loan out. If you didn't allow for fractional lending, the bottom 50% of people would have zero credit. A lot of wealth is tied up in retirement accounts. A lot of wealth. Yeah, a lot of wealth is tied up in accounts. I have a friend that says the government can just print money so everyone can be okay, but I don't think he knows about how the more there is of something, the less it is. The problem is we have no idea how much money is actually in circulation. Because so many of us don't deal in currency, don't deal in hard paper. We deal in electronics. Like, for example, the bank knows this house is worth $308,000. And I go to buy a new one. And I say to the bank, look, I don't feel like getting fucked around on this. So what I'd like your permission to do is instead of getting a straight mortgage on this house, I'd like to take a HELOC on this house. And the bank says, well, how much are you looking for? And I say $231,000. And the bank says, okay. Now, in the spirit of full transparency with the bank, I tell the bank I'm buying another house with it. And the bank says, okay. Not quite sure if we're okay with that. Because you're going to have another asset with this. And then the bank says, well, you know what? Yeah, we're okay with it because we have a lien on the house. We have a lien on a $308,000 piece of property for a $231,000 dispersal. We're okay with it. Now I take the $231 over here, right? And I add the $150 that I have in my account. And this house I buy for $331. But it's in a new location. So why would I do that? I would do that because now I didn't have to worry about getting a mortgage on the new house, having 20% down, tying up all my funds. I have the money in my HELOC, which means every month I have all my money deposited into that account. I pay all my bills out of it, and I keep the average daily balance on my HELOC low, and I get it paid off. The bank doesn't give a shit. Why would the bank care? Because the bank knows I either make good on the loan or they get the house. But I can do that because I can walk into the bank and I can say, hey, look, I own my house free and clear. I'd like 75% of the value of my house to go buy another asset so that I don't have a bunch of bullshit paperwork in my way. You're going to make a little money. I'm going to make a little money. We're all going to make a little money. I'll even do so much as, you can have the underwriting fee and you're going to get a little interest out of me. And that looks good on your books. The bank will say, cool, we make a little bit of money. Yes, banks extending you credit creates new money, which is why we're in such a situation we're in. People are like, we need the interest rates to come down so more people can get into homes. I try to explain to people, if the banks bring down the mortgage rates, homes are going to get more expensive, not less expensive. You got three people. And you have 3 houses for sale. Well, the only bad thing that's going to happen is you have 3 people looking to move into an area and you have 3 homes for sale. So what this means is one person's going to get the home that they really like. One person's going to get their second choice. One person's going to get their third choice. But at the end of the day, they're all happy because they all gotten into homes in the neighborhood. But now I had 3 more buyers because we lower interest rates and these 3 people now qualify for mortgages. The price of this house is going to go up. The price of this house is going to go up. The price of this house is going to go up. Because if I list this house at 300 and you put a bid in on it, this person over here who's cleared up to 350, they're going to come along and bid 310. So you're going to bid 315 and they're going to bid 320. And pretty soon this person is paid $350,000 for a $300,000 house. That is the result of fiat currency. Because if we didn't have that, the bank wouldn't be able to loan out $350,000. The bank would give a really big shit about the value of the asset they're buying, which is a thing I've talked about in the past anyway. We have got to get home inspections and home appraisals in line with the actual value of the home and not the value of the mortgage. I wish I could get loans, but interest is forbidden in Islam, and most banks apply interest. Could you explain on a way to get behind it if you know? I am aware of the Islam. I am aware of the Islam problem. There isn't a way for you to take a loan. Western banking doesn't work in a way that is compatible with Islam, because our loans are all based on the interest. I'm aware of how no, interest is fine in Christianity. It's structured differently, but it also it boils down to it's not compatible with Western economics. Because what would happen if I was wealthy and I had an Islamic friend who needed a house, I would just buy the house and let them live in it. And the way you get around it is I don't charge you interest. I buy a $300,000 house. I now own it. I let you live in it, but you're going to pay me $350,000. Yeah, you set the house price higher, but you got to have... Basically, I should be... Like, I couldn't give Mr. Misfits a loan anyway. because I'm not Islamic. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not supposed to take a loan from me. I respect their ways. I respect their traditions. Spent a lot of time in their country, a lot of time in the Middle East. Learned a lot about how things are done. They do things differently. They're not all about, they don't operate on a central philosophy of screw the other guy out of their money. They don't believe in the idea that, they don't believe in the ideas that the bank can make you homeless. One of the criticisms I have against Islam is the ban against interest. That makes you a racist bigot, just so you're aware. Just so we're clear, if you have a problem with a religion that bans interest, that makes you a racist bigot. You're against a religion because of something that's actually good for the people? Sorry. Can't get down with that. You're against the whole group of people that follow the religion in their banking, and they're some of the richest countries. They figured out a way to be affluent without interest. Why can't the rest of us? Yeah, it's how they do it, but they agree that the new value of the item will be this. It incorporates interest, but it's not called interest. It would just be nice if we didn't charge as much interest, period. But it's also, it boils down to the way Western economics works. In Western economics, I don't think this works in a 21st century capitalistic society. Hey, interestingly enough, the Middle East isn't a capitalistic society. How about that? Most Islamic nations aren't capitalistic nations. They're Islamic nations. I know. Fucking mind blow, right? Capitalism is a predatory system. Capitalism has winners and losers. Anybody who says everyone should be successful in capitalism doesn't understand capitalism. Capitalism is one of the worst economic models we've ever tried. Barter was better. But do you know why barter isn't widely accepted? Because barter requires you to get your lazy ass off the couch and work. Because in a barter system, there's very little room for charity, and it's reserved solely for the people who cannot contribute. You think that 150 years ago, you had housewives staying in bed till noon? Hell no. She might be in bed at noon, depending on how many sons they had, because the girls would stay up and knit by firelight so the boys could sleep. And then when the boys got up to do farm work, the daughters and the mom slept for a few hours. And then they got up and they tended the garden and they churned the butter, which is churning butter is an autistics. Like, what the fuck are we doing? But they tended the garden. They tended the chickens. They gathered the eggs. There was no, in a colonial homestead, there's nobody sitting around not contributing. If you do, you don't get fed. Capitalism is great. Except if capitalism is so fucking great, then why do we have so many people without basic needs? See, the problem is people think capitalism is amazing. I think capitalism is amazing. I think capitalism is amazing because capitalism works out really, really good for me, right? But the problem we have is this is the result of capitalism in America. It's like, damn, look at this guy go. This guy's got charts and graphs ready to go at a moment's notice. The very little itty bitty bottom blue on all of these columns is 50% of the population. It's counterintuitive, but I think interest is actually good. Why is interest good? Interest makes rich people richer at no labor investment. This little teeny tiny blue section down there is the bottom 50%. The blue and the orange is the bottom 90% of the population. The bottom 90% of the population in America in 2025 only had 32.8% of the wealth. Meanwhile, the top 0.1% had 13.8% of the wealth. The top 1% had 30% of the wealth. 1% of the country is 30% of the wealth. Capitalism is just like any other system. It can be abused by those who want to willfully take advantage of the system. You're right. There are a lot of people that say Muslims are misogynistic because the men can have 4 wives, but the females can't. I can explain why. I can explain that because I know enough about Islam. A man can take a second, a third, and a fourth wife only if he can provide for them. Also, a woman's money is the woman's in a Muslim marriage. A husband may not ask the woman to contribute to the household. She can if she so desires, but he may not demand, force, manipulate her, which means he is afforded the, I'm going to say right/privilege/opportunity, so that the right word is in there no matter which view. A man can take a second wife if he can provide for both wives equally. If he can't provide for both wives equally without the first wife's money or the second wife's money, then he's not permitted to take the second wife. Also, my understanding of Islam is that in divorce, the man leaves until the man leaves the house until the wife is resolved their affairs. Judaism makes the distinction between interest and excessive interest. Islam doesn't. Well, Islam doesn't allow for interest at all. But also, I think it's a dangerous thing to say using a what is excessive interest? What specifically is the number? I don't think you can use Judaism and the Torah and the Old Testament because they didn't have the same type of economy we had. What's excessive interest? 5%? 8%? What's the number? I don't think there is a definitive number. Also, I want to remind you, Jews can't charge interest to other Jews. Jews can only charge interest to non-Jews. Also, Jews said, we can't charge interest. So what they did is they just created a workaround, which is basically, okay, so you know that you're not supposed to do this, but we're going to do it anyway. We're just going to call it something different. Well, I don't think God is going to be too amused if you get up there and God's like, hey, you've been charging people interest by calling it an investment. And you're going to be like, yeah, I am. By the way, that whole thing about you guys not having eternal damnation, that was a mistranslation. Boop! Off to hell. The multiple wives likely came about a long time ago when there's a shortage of men due to loss from war, famine, disease. So to keep society from collapsing, it would make sense to allow multiple wives. It also makes just as much sense to allow multiple husbands. In fact, if you're going to have polygamy in a society because of shortage of DNA material, you want multiple, you don't want monogamous pairings. You need to remember who everybody is related to, but you want polygamous pairings if you're rebuilding a society or a culture. Because if you have multiple wives, you have an awful lot of half brothers and half sisters that are off limits. But if you have multiple people being polygamous both ways, you have different silos of people. That's subject to interpretation. Not really. Jews can't charge other Jews interest. Off limits? Yeah, play around in CK3 with that, right. They're related. 4.6% chance of inbreeding. Some of you have played CK3 and happy birthday, uncle, sister, daughter. Like, wait, what? But we've got to get people a base understanding of economics. We've got to get people to understand the basics of economics, otherwise they can't help themselves. Like, I had to remind somebody again today, like, hey, fuckwit, you owe me almost $2,000 on 4 different transactions. I'm getting a little upset about the fact that you haven't paid me. How much is excessive interest? Well, if excessive interest is subject to interpretation, then that makes it a meaningless, pointless law. If you don't clearly define what's excessive, then 5%, 8%, 10%, 20%. It's great to say phrases like excessive interest, but what does it mean? Oh, Kick just hates you. I got to look at my Kick settings and see if maybe I have these turned up too much. A man needs to know where their child came from. If a man took multiple wives, the woman knows who the father is to preserve lineage. If a mother did, then it would be, who is the dad? Allah knew about DNA during a time when there was no DNA testing. I'll let that slide through the door. I wouldn't say they knew about DNA. I will meet you halfway and say they knew about bloodlines. And they understood that if a woman has only one husband, the lineage is secured. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Family, society. Now, the interesting thing is, if we flipped the society and we made it matriarchal, then it wouldn't matter. If a person's lineage was through their mother, it wouldn't matter who the dad is, because your prestige comes from your mom. I can agree on 6% being classified as excessive, which means then right now you couldn't take a loan. You couldn't get a mortgage. National mortgage rate today. Right now, if we said 6% is excessive, you wouldn't be able to get a loan, because weekly national average right now is 6.36%. Yeah, in the US. Say 3 times inflation would be excessive. Yeah, so that'd be 9%. Which is what I say to people. People end up taking loans and they don't understand 6% isn't excessive interest times of high inflation or war. Yes, it is. 6% is excessive. Do you know how hard it is to overcome a 6% interest rate? I mean, 6% interest is an excessive amount of interest on a mortgage. Because remember, a mortgage isn't a single loan for 360 months. A mortgage is 360 individual loans for a term of 1 month through 359 months. A 6% interest compounding annually for 359 months. Yeah, that's why on a mortgage you end up on a $300,000 mortgage over 30 years, you pay over $100,000 in interest. But the interest rate was only 6%. I don't think we can make these broad statements saying 6% isn't excessive. 6% is very excessive. If you're broke, you're never getting out from under the yoke of a 6% loan. which is why I want to go back to a no loan society. I know this sounds mean. I know this sounds cruel. I know this sounds terrible. I don't want you to be able to get a mortgage at all unless you can't, 10%. Can you put down 10% on the value of the home to get a mortgage? If not, you don't get a mortgage. Well, what would that do to house prices? It would cap them. Because a house's value is simultaneously infinite and zero. I said my house is worth $308,000. If I can't sell it for $308,000, it's not worth $308,000. If somebody walked up to my door right now, rang the doorbell and said, I will give you $500,000 for your house right now, I would say, where's the rattlesnake in this deal? Because that's a lot, that's a lot of money for my house. Just be honest with me or I'm going to tell you no. Because if you're offering me $200,000 over the cost of my house, what am I sitting on? A gold mine, a diamond mine, a xenon mine, uranium, plutonium? What do I got in the backyard? What do I have? Just tell me the truth about what I have. You've never taken loans. I only ever take loans for short periods of time because I don't have the liquidity at the moment that I need to do something. When I buy my next house, I will probably end up buying my next house for cash and a small HELOC out of the current house. Because I'd rather not have a mortgage. I just need to get out of this house and renovate it, so. Lenders give you $700K on a $300,000 house at 7% interest because then they can sell your mortgage. Right. Gotta have some type of loan for a credit score. No, not really. I don't have any loans right now. I have no loans against my name. Well, I take that back. I have revolving credit cards, but I don't have a balance on any of my credit cards. And without any of that nonsense, my credit score right now today is 825. I am pre-approved for a mortgage and a car payment. I am pre-approved. I have a pending $600,000 mortgage. Hey, appreciate the hype. I like Kick. Kick is so weird. Yep. Get a credit card, spend it on small stuff, pay it off. I did that after I paid off my student loans. Got your credit card score to 810 just by doing that. Yep. If you need to build your credit, get any credit card that doesn't have an annual fee and put your gas on it. And then pay it off every month. Don't pay it off every week like some asshole credit people tell you to do. Don't do that. If you have no credit and you're building credit, do not pay your credit card off every week. If you put $20 worth of gas in your car and you would have paid cash, take the $20, put it back into your bank and leave it the fuck alone. Or if you're bad with money and bad with your debit card, take whatever money that you would have put in gas into your coffee cup, and then every 4 weeks, deposit the coffee cup and pay off your credit card. It's what I do with my daughter to rebuild her credit. But yeah, I have no... They always say you need a mortgage or you need a car loan or you need a home loan or you need this, that, or the other. No, the shit you don't. No, you don't. I don't know why people make this shit up. You just need one revolving credit card and that's it. Just pay it off on time. Yes, you need it to show on your statement that gets reported to the agency and then you pay it off. Yes. You have 30 days grace. Nothing happens. Pay it off. Actually, you have like 59 days grace depending on when you start and when your credit is. But we have got to stop being hateful to each other, and we've got to have people stop running around with incomplete parts of the story. Like, I'm going to pick on Steven Sharif here for a second. Steven Sharif ran around taking 20% loans. 20% compounding APR on $1 million loan is $1.2 million after 12 months. That's insane. That's literally insane. You took a 20% APR. What is wrong with you? A 20% APR is when you are screwed. I don't have a credit card because I'm scared that my credit will get messed up and I won't be able to live life. You should get a credit card. Get a small $500 credit card. Just pay it off every month. Put your gas on it, because you got to buy gas anyway. Put your gas on it, pay it off. And then if you pay it off, there's no interest. So you're golden. Interest only gets charged if you take the money past the payment date. Especially if you knew you weren't going to have the revenue to pay it off before the end of the year. Right. Like, I want to remind people, just because you have money doesn't mean you're good with money. If you got your money from, like, your mom. If you got your money from, like, your brother. Like, my dad is amazed that I have what I have. And he's like, my dad will say, yeah, your mom and I taught you well. You did. You did. Credit cards give you a lot of perks and buyer fraud protection. That is a really big one, which is why I recommend people have a credit card. If I buy something from you in cash and it doesn't get delivered, I don't have any recourse. If I buy something from you on a credit card and it doesn't get delivered, I have recourse. I contact the credit card company. I say it's fraudulent. With that said, I apologize for the slightly shorter show today. I had to go to the doctor. I can't promise that my streams won't get interrupted. Now, I have to go back to physical therapy for 4 weeks. I have to do physical therapy again. I have to have dry needling done. And then I need spinal surgery. I love you all, but I will tell you this. Depending on what I have to have done to my spine, I will be gone for quite a while. I will set up the stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to play music. Yeah, you can dispute debit card transactions, but remember, a debit card transaction is only did you not receive anything. If you're unhappy with the product, your bank usually doesn't get involved with quality. They get in charge with delivery. Like, wrong item delivered, they'll get involved with. This isn't the item that as needed. They'll say, yeah, but you got the item. I'm not going to play the song you made me today. I am going to start the next show with the song you made because it's hilarious. With that, I am probably going to stream later afternoon tomorrow because I'm really excited to look at Soulframe. Soulframe has me excited in all the naughty places. I will see you guys tomorrow.
I wonder if the organic meat sack that runs this channel knows a lot of these sponsors don't sponsor us anymore.
They were longtime sponsors. The credits are fine.
Do we get paid? Is any of this sponsorship money for Gale, Daisy, the Chaos Fund?
You are a figment of John.